yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Oh, look at me. I'm retarded. I'm a globe.
The whole system is designed to disconnect you from your intuition. Why? Disconnected people are easy to manipulate. Everything from sunscreen to politics to the food industry. It's all designed to disconnect and manipulate you. We are in the middle of a war right now, but it's not a traditional war. It's a war on consciousness. It's a war on freedom. This is the time to listen, not to the news. No, your intuition, your gut, your heart. Love is the greatest weapon against darkness. How do you love more? You begin by loving yourself. How do you love yourself? You listen to the messages your body is telling you.
Nobody is coming to save you. Get up. Be your own hero.
I'm scared, Dad.
Do you trust me, son?
Yes.
Come on, son. Rule number 1, never trust anybody.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind, coming to you 250 miles above your imagination in the International Fake Station. I'm up here with my good friend and co-pilot, Something Wong. He's always a happy little fella. He sits back there making sure everything running good. I'm trying to get him to clean up these wires. I don't know if he's ever going to get around to it. I guess this is what he's used to. He likes it that way. Anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Future past. Who we got with us already tonight? Holy crap. I was taking that big old bong hit right before I come on. And then I'm like, hey, how y'all doing? So what do we got here? We got Mark Purcell's with us tonight. Never a straight answer. Joyce B is with us. Eugene 12. Horror sheet. I got to apologize, y'all. I had set this thing up, and I don't know. Some reason had it set for 10:35, and I came in here a little bit after 9, and I looked, and I was like, oh, man, that's fucked up. I got to change that. So I fixed it, and now everything's good. And hopefully people will get the message that I'm alive. If not, they'll be here in an hour, and God knows we'll still be here. I do have a link pinned in the chat. Anybody that wants to come up, want to kind of discuss some of the stuff we've seen. I'm going to show you a few images and go over some of this impossible architecture and run something by y'all that I think that is kind of important. There's some weird shit going on. You know, there's people that believe we might be in the short season of Satan. I don't know. I've got kind of another theory that's going on. And it's all regarding the fact that our timeline is not what it seems. It's not as far back as what we think it is. We can be sold anything. And it's really interesting to me. They throw this right in your face. I don't know how many of you are maybe familiar with a show, an old movie called Planet of the Apes, the original. And when the one guy, the one ape, Cornelius, he's an archaeologist, and he gets permission to go look in the forbidden zone. And this, again, the forbidden zone, you're not allowed to go there, not allowed to check, tightly controlled. And he goes there and finds evidence of advanced humans to him, because in their timeline, the humans are primitive. So this movie wasn't only just pushing along the evolution bullshit line, but it was throwing in your face that they do cover up the past. And the orangutans in the Planet of the Apes were kind of like the intellectuals, the priest class, almost, so to speak. And so consequently, they were the ones that controlled this. They knew the truth, didn't want to accept the truth, and didn't want anybody to know the truth, so that they could keep their narrative and their power. And, you know, anything that disrupted that narrative that they have out there, well, that takes away their power. It's like, oh, you didn't know after all. See, we thought you were. That's how it usually works. Anyway, who else we got in here tonight? Pebbles, what's happening, doll? We got Stephen McGuire's the XL Master is with us here tonight. Heresy Seed, Awakened Nemesis, Cylon Killer. Why do I keep wanting to say Cyclone? I don't know. Pimp Moiled My Forster. Okay. Jono Edwards, Jim's here tonight with us as well. Look at there, he's excited about it, as am I. Jono Edwards, let's see, Dead and Rumming. Is that what I'm supposed to? What? Okay. Some of these names are hard for me to read, man. I might have to get. There's Austin Murphy. He said hit the like. I don't know if he's in here right now or not. That was from earlier when I first was getting ready to come on. I had to change. I saw people going, what time is this thing supposed to be? And it, like, hey, somebody fucked this up. Anyway, the Chicago Cubby Bear sent me this yesterday, and I wanted to share this. And it's a little thing about the star forts, and it's kind of interesting. Got a few little video clips that go along with it. I'm not sure if they play in the thing or not. Let me see what happens real quick. Yeah, I guess they do. Cool. All right, so there's some interesting stuff regarding, like, we saw these star forts. Are y'all familiar with what we're talking about here? Pretty sure most of you are. If you're not, speak up now or forever hold your peace. You see how these I mean, it gets me, these things were supposedly built, like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and you're like, how did they get that geometric precision without being able to? I mean, how in the fuck did they survey that out to work out so perfectly? You know, I mean, there was supposedly nobody who could go up in the air, you know, so it couldn't have been so much for an aesthetic, although from an aerial view, it is very aesthetic. No one on the ground is getting that view. So those, that would be wasted if nobody can go in the air, especially. So there has to be some kind of a purpose to this. And of course, with the water, we know that there's something with running water, an electromagnetic field that's generated with that. And perhaps by taking it these certain lengths and channeling it at different angles is like tuning it. You know, there's so much about water. I mean, they just tell us, oh, it's H2O. No, it's not. There's much, much more to water than what we are told. So anyway, the synopsis, I don't know what would happen if I try to blow this up. Did the images increase as well? Yeah, I suppose they do. You can kind of see that now. I'll try and highlight it too. It says, the hundreds of beautiful buildings known as star forts adorn our planet like jewelry. In today's curriculum, these magnificent star forts are rarely, if ever, brought up. The hush-hush around these antiquities has many people questioning their true history. And then again, once again, you know, like with the exception of probably this one, you could easily say, well, yeah, that makes a really nice pedestal for this Statue of Liberty, you know. But is that really what it is? And what I'll do is I'm going to put this in the chat for everybody. Let me see who I got over here on the Rumble side. Anybody? No, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it in there. Let me see what happens. There and over here on this side. And that way you all can go and look at it at your own time, and without me gabbing along at it. So it says in 1520, see, they just know, not 1519, not 1521, in 1520, star forts were employed by the famous Michelangelo in the defensive earthworks of Florence and redefined in the 16th century by Baldassare Peruzzi and Vincenzo Scamozzi. The design spread out of Italy in the 1530s and 1540s and was employed heavily throughout Europe for the following 3 centuries. So these are his drawings. And they just went by that, I guess. What the fuck? A star fort is also known as a bastion fort or trace Italienne. It is a fortification in a style that evolved during the age of gunpowder when the cannon came to dominate the battlefield in the mid-15th century in Italy. The star fort's sharp angles helped to eliminate dead zones, areas that could not be fired upon due to the angle of the fort's rounded towers, thus allowing the enemy to undermine the castle walls. Mainstream historians assure us that the fort's peculiar shape helped the people in charge of them to cover the dead zones for protection during the battles. Okay, so dead zones would be these areas here. Okay. There is no doubt that these star forts were used to fight battles, but that doesn't mean that the star fort was evolved specifically for military purposes. I heard somebody popped up back there. Hang on, I'm reading. I'll get you right in just a second. There you go, Porter. What's up, buddy? Many of these star forts, as you will see, are actually left completely open for enemies to enter. In the New Earth documentary below, you will see how probable it is that these forts originally had a different purpose. And he's got, there's a whole video involved here too. So I suggest y'all go to the link and check this out. You know, and I have to wonder too. I'm like, I think, you know, I mean, look at that. You can't tell me that that is specifically for fortification. It doesn't make any sense.
Wow, that is amazing.
It's cymatic. So it says here, it can be hard to know who to trust because of all the disputes and suspicions in the educational system, politics, and world history. Being able to discern the truth is a powerful virtue in this age of information. We feel it important to question the purpose of the star forts because there is a lot to be learned from these massive structures. Some very evolved technology would have been needed to execute the comprehensive anatomy and design for these forts. They can be found in over 37 countries, America, South Africa, Japan, and Germany, to mention just a few. And that's, I mean, that is amazing. What kind of, how did they build them? That's what I'd like to know. I mean,
notice how they hijacked Michelangelo because he was an artist.
Oh yeah. I always found it interesting that he had all these amazing things. He also associated with Archangel Michael. If
Right.
you look at his name, I mean, I'm like, that, you know, come on, that's right in your face.
Right.
And he painted, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that just looks like that's amazing.
Yeah.
And the manpower, because you figure they didn't have, that's big. I mean, that's really big. You look at the size of these windows, this little archway and bridge going into this. That's a lot of
Each one of the
excavating.
points could be an acre of land.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that and you got, it's like these angles, you know, I mean, there's a lot of skill involved with this.
Yep.
And we know it's difficult enough now with the big excavators and shit like that we got to get that kind of work done. Just imagine these are people who just had what, shovels and oxes and shit like that, you know. Oh, there's my friend Johnny just showed up.
All right.
Yeah, he's going to be popping over here, sitting on my co-pilot side.
And you know what gets me though, Soft, too, about all these so-called star forts is how many were spread out across the earth, all of the same type of exact architecture, kind of, you know.
Well, yes, and this is what gets me is I'm always like looking at the logistics of this, and what do they what did they tell us up here? The years?
Yeah.
Designing this shit was the 1530s and 1540s, 1520 star forts were employed.
Okay.
Now we're talking about people with shovels, and wheelbarrows, carts, oxes, shit like that, and they're doing all this. I mean, how long? Oh, it probably only took them 2 years, right?
All right.
Well, that's what they tell us.
So if you don't live too far away from Harper's Ferry, have you been up there?
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's unbelievable because of the way that it's situated.
Yeah, it looks like a little model train village, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. When you go up there itself, and actually when you're walking through the town itself, you look down, you can see the whole, like, you know, bottom layer of all of the windows themselves. If you're looking at it, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, so, even just in recent history, Harper's Ferry has flooded a couple of times.
Yeah, but it is wild. I don't know if you've seen the little Catholic church that's up in the corner.
That's where the Shenandoah and the what the fuck's the one in DC? The Potomac. That's where the Shenandoah meets the Potomac, is at Harper's Ferry. That's the only place in West Virginia that there is the Shenandoah River.
And again, you have the train system running right through it, and like
Yep, a lot of tunnels and shit all through there. It starts getting really rocky. It's really cool though, because you got like these little buildings are like nestled into the mountain, you know, and you see the train, the rails and shit go right by it, and you know, right into a tunnel and then out the other side. It's really amazing. I think we inherited a lot of that shit. I don't think, you know. And I want to get a little bit more into that, but these are the ones right here that get me, are these grand structures like this. And I start looking into the idea, I try to run it in my head, you know, how many fucking guys did they have working on this? And at what skill levels were they? I mean, I'm sure you had a shitload of general laborers. Then you have to have, you know, I guess I'm assuming there's stone masonry, or at least masonry of some kind that can't just be earthworks. It would have eroded away by now.
How could you even excavate that by hand?
That's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying. And then in the 1500s.
That's like a required impossibility.
I think is in, I don't know. It doesn't say. Let me see if there's any captions to it.
Wow. What?
Yeah, this is just a drawing right here.
I got you.
I don't know what they got going on there, but you know, because I'm looking at there's a whole bunch. How long is this one? Let me see something real quick. 3 minutes and 58 seconds. Here's a fascinating videos on star forts. All right, that other one, that top one's like 5 minutes. Look, there's Vlad showed up right there.
There's Vlad right there.
What's up, Vlad? I like that dude, man. He's cool.
Yeah, Vlad's cool.
All right, let's see what this has to say. call it a star. These are all over the world. And they say, oh,
Dude, that is massive.
how do they get the precision? We're seeing how many fucking guys do that take to build? Let's just count it out. Figure it take to build the fucking thing. How long would it take to do it? You know what I'm saying?
I can't make you out that good, Sob.
Says that. I mean, how many
You're
guys?
breaking up.
How many guys would it take to make a fucking thing like this?
Oh my
Right?
gosh.
How
That is
many
megalithic, bro.
years would that take? I know. Look at the size; it's just insane.
There's no possible way.
With that precision, and where are the workers? Where do they stay at? You're not telling me that they're commuting all the way up that fucking mountain every day to work.
That is next level, right there. Next level. What?
I mean, it'd be one thing if it was just one, but these things are all over the place. Whole fucking cities.
You know what I just noticed, though, Sob, about the Statue of Liberty? It looks like they concreted one in and stuck her on top of it.
Yeah.
I don't
It
know
does.
if that was the base, but what if that was just like one of them? And
It
they
was. It
Oh,
was. That was already
okay.
there. They didn't build that thing for that thing to set on. They put it on it.
What? Oh, that's crazy.
And
Look
it's
at
not a
that.
her. It's not a her. That's Lucifer.
Right, that's right. I misspoke.
It is. So how many horns on the crown?
I know. Oh my gosh. Look at that.
I know. Look at you got to figure, man. There's dudes hauling stone.
Yeah.
They're bringing that shit in from somewhere. They
Yeah.
just-
Horseback, man. It's horseback.
You know what the weirdest thing is? My lunch break said that some of the stones came from different lands. Like tons of it. Thousands of loads it would have took.
Well,
And they didn't have road systems and stuff like that, right?
right. And here's what you got to pay attention to. I want you to think about any fucking Walmart you've seen put up, any 7-Eleven you've seen put up, any modern day thing that they put up. What's the first thing they put up? The fucking parking lot. They get that thing all set up and everything, right? Because then they're not mudding up the whole fucking area and screwing up the grade and shit by having trucks coming in and out on the dirt and everything. Anytime there's a new subdivision or a neighborhood, what do? They build the roads and they put in all the curbs and shit first, and then they've got it parceled off in lots, and then they put all that shit in, and then that's where they start building up at. You got to have a way to get your material to your job site, man. And that's a lot of material. That's not just wood. That's not lumber.
That's right.
We're talking about blocks of fucking stone, which means at some place there's somebody quarrying a bunch of damn stones or a bunch of blocks or what have you, whatever, of a specific material that they're building it out of. I mean, they didn't pick that shit up off the ground around there on that hill and decide to build some shit out of it. That had to be brought there. So how are they, and with what, oxes and carts in all weather? I mean, Christ almighty. And then they say, oh, this was only built in like 2 years. And I'm like, no, that wasn't just built in 2 years. There's no fucking way. Everybody, you got like a population of an area that's like 500,000 people, right? Or not even that, 5,000 people. And, you know, and it's like, those are men, women, and children. That's just not how many men there were, how many families there were. That's how many people there were. So many of that select are able-bodied men with skills to do the shit that we see produced. It just doesn't fucking add up, not for a second. It doesn't add up for a second.
Keep dropping, guys. I'm sorry about that.
All right, we're putting you back, man. It's not hard. What's this one? How's this one? We'll plug you back in. This one's only a minute long. Hold on.
That last one looks like it could be sitting on probably some lithium mine or something, because those little points off of the tips, it looks like they cut out the actual the ridge to fit it all the way down to where it gets level. if you look. So you never know, you know.
Chad, I am so sorry about my scheduling error.
Oh, that's all good.
I
I thought
looked
that
at the
seemed a
chat.
little late for you.
What? I looked at the time on it and I was like, how the hell did that happen? I guess I just must have clicked down or something when I went to pick it. It's really crazy.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, I mean, you think about what it would take to build one of those damn things today. And that right there is a relatively small one in comparison. If you look at this thumbnail over here on the right, look at that. That's like an entire city done like that. That's what gets you.
I'll be back. I got to take Duke out. God bless.
All right. This one's in India.
So I have a few pictures for you that
All
were
right.
taken by me. I'm looking them up, and
All right, I'll pull them up in just a minute.
yeah, no problem. Go ahead. Yeah.
This one here is in India. And see, that's what I'm saying is that it can't just be for aesthetics. And I don't think it's altogether for a strategic aspect either. There's something more to it. And just the idea that they were able to have that kind of geometric precision at such a time kind of just blows me away. It doesn't fit with the narrative. Look at that thing.
Yeah, they're wild.
And look, it looks as though like a lot of it's underground or something. What is with the cross in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because
You know, it's a Baal cross. If you look up Baal, you look up Baal cross, just Google it real quick and go to images. You'll see that's the Baal cross, the plus.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Take a look at it.
All right, hang on a minute.
I was actually just watching.
Baal cross.
Yeah, I know how to spell it.
I was actually just watching.
Go
my
to images. It's really it's interesting because that's a plus sign.
Oh, it's an Ankh.
Yeah, you see it?
Huh. Yeah, with the like a target. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, let me get back on this thing over here. Okay, so that's pretty much, but it's got a long. Oh, this is one here. I grew up living next to one of these. In fact, I was born 2 blocks away from it. It dominates my home, Halifax, Nova Scotia. See if we can get that big.
I have another link. I have another link too that's got like all the known star forts from around the world.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I'll go find that and I'll throw it in the chat.
Right on, right on.
But yeah, I was just actually watching my lunch break a little bit ago. The newest
Was
he
he?
just put out another one, and he was kind of talking about like the underground stuff and the crosses and everything.
Interesting. There's a lot of this shit that just really gets me. I've got these pictures that I found. See, I guess I can probably just scroll through them just as easily. There he is. He's back.
Yeah, keep driving, guys.
What's going on? Are you using Chrome?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's like Chrome's got some kind of a bug. But look at this when they were renovating this building, this brickwork, they took it down. Look what was behind it. Now, why would you want to cover that up? Why in the world would anybody want to cover that up? I just can't get it. And here's this postcard. This is kind of interesting. Look at this.
The babies.
Repopulation. And they're taking grain de shell. I don't know what those are, like 2 different ingredients, and they're putting it into this thing, and it's like they're just cranking out babies. What the fuck is that about, right? This is a heater. There's no way there was fire in that fucking heater. Look, where would there be any exhaust for it from?
It'll be for energy.
No,
Either, right? In my opinion.
Look, it had to be. There's no way you're going to have fire inside this thing.
That's right.
I mean, there's nowhere even for it to exhaust, you know, to have any kind of airflow if you did. But you see, you've got that kind of little. I wonder what that looks like. Let's see what those are. They look like dragons.
There's obviously lost technology that's going to come back out here pretty soon. You have to imagine that's what they're doing with this whole Trump and Elon kind of thing. They're going to be bringing out.
Well, we are going to have another World's Fair here.
Yeah, they're going to bring out this new ether technology. Is basically what they're going to be doing. Wait, what was the name on the bottom right? What? Tartaria.
Info, yeah.
Info. Okay.
I downloaded this.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of interesting. These little dragons up on the top. Oh, somebody fucked up.
Changed my mind.
Yeah. So check this out, man. Now this is the stuff they built in like 2 years. Look at this stuff. Look at the size of the people. Okay, this. Look at the size of the people, and then here's our next best accomplishments are like these boxes, and they're getting worse. They're getting worse all the time.
Okay, trash.
Yeah.
Is that Chicago or where is that?
I think it is. Yeah.
The Tribune building too. That one's interesting.
I mean, these are just wow, right?
Yeah. I dropped that link in the chat too.
Oh, okay. I'll grab it here in just a sec.
It just gives you like the location, like links to the locations of star forts and whatnot.
Where does it take you on Google Earth or something? Or
I'm not sure. I got it from Yandex.
All right, we'll check it out here in just a minute. We'll see what it does. And this is the kind of thing that gets me. We got buildings like this all through Luray. Yeah. See how it's like they didn't level it out at all. They just built down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably 3 more floors lower on top of that.
It's almost like this got covered up and they said, well, we'll just use this part up here.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's what I was saying about Harper's Ferry. It's like very similar to that aspect.
I mean, it'd be like, why bother with these windows, right? This window, especially right here. Why even bother with this?
A lot of them, they put like wells and bars on them.
Yeah.
At least, you know, a lot that I've seen around.
Stay out of here. You're not allowed to be in here. Look at, and here's the World's Fair. I think this is either Chicago or St. Louis. And I mean, built this just temporary.
Yeah, just to tear it down.
Yeah, to tear it down or it burnt down or some other shit like that. And I'm like, no, that's a lie. You're telling me fibs, man. I mean, wow.
Have you seen the latest My Lunch Break that you just put out?
What was it? What was it about?
A couple hours ago about the caves in India. He had mentioned that he had like an older episode that he was talking about the Great Fires and how there's like nobody that dies in them and anything.
Oh yeah. And then after like a couple of months, they
only 4 days. 4 days.
Or 4 days. Yeah, they came back and they said, oh, they changed it. Yeah.
Yeah, the Baltimore Sun or something like that came out and reported there's 1 death and like 4 that succumbed to the fire or to smoke.
Yeah. Which is still ridiculously low given the numbers, you know.
Right. Yeah. Like
technically, actually, like one of those fucking people, you know.
One person.
Yeah.
One person out of all those hundreds of thousands. You bet.
I got some in this thing already ground up, bro. Like in the Battle of Fort Sumter, you know how many people were killed in that battle?
Zero.
Yeah, zero.
Yeah.
Zero. The battle that supposedly started the Civil War, there were 0 casualties. Now, technically, there were 4 people in that died. But it was because after they surrendered the fort, during a flag lowering ceremony, an ammo pile got ignited somehow and set off an explosion, and it killed 1 guy instantly and mortally wounded 3 other guys.
A couple other guys got STDs and gangrene or something.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, that's a pretty wild little story about that, you know, because that was like 0 casualties from that battle.
Yeah, and some of these things line up with the Civil War times too. It's like, how the hell? And nobody's talking about some great big war going on, like all over.
Yell down the steps.
When was that? Like Civil War was in 1860, I think.
1861 to 1865. Yeah.
Yeah.
4 bloody years. Or was it?
Right.
You know, now I've been to quite a number of Civil War battle sites. I used to be a Confederate reenactor.
They do that around here too. They got a little reenactment thing every year.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun and everything, but it's pretty much it's died out now. Nobody does it hardly anymore.
Yeah.
And
my buddy had a girlfriend. Her dad would do that like professional. Well, I wouldn't say professionally, but he was involved. There's some kind of thing that they go around all over the place. But
yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did.
It's
all
cool.
Up and down the East Coast. I mean, you know, around this whole area. Of course, the majority. There's so many battlefields right here in Virginia.
Yeah, Williamsburg and everything.
Oh, I don't know. I have to give you a count later. Probably about 25. Probably about 25 different.
Yeah, I've been to Williamsburg before.
We got right just over here across the mountain is Newmarket. And that was one of the closest big battles that was by us here. And then about 30 miles north in Front Royal. Luray was occupied for a part of the Civil War. This whole little area. What?
They got one in Manassas.
Oh yeah, but I was talking about what we have nearby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Manassas isn't really that nearby. That's a little while north. But Winchester, I'm sure you've heard about that. That's about an hour north here. And what, about an hour and 15 minutes?
Winchester?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's that one right there, they raged over that one quite a number of times as well in like Front Royal. But we had like 9 skirmishes in this county, or 9 little small battles that aren't really consequential, so you don't really hear nothing about them. There's little Civil War plaques up about them and shit. That's all.
They're just beefs, like somebody messing around with somebody's wife.
Well, what started when Luray was occupied? See these women here, boy. These women here are something else. And I'm telling you, they still are, right?
It's that water coming out of the mountains.
They'd find soldiers down by the river, down by the Hawksbill, with their throats cut. And they figured it was bushwhackers. And so what they did was they just rounded up all the men that weren't at war, and they put them in the Page County Courthouse. They locked them up in there. And then they still found soldiers getting their throats cut. Well, what was going on is these women was luring these soldiers down there, promising them a little something, and then cutting their throats and killing them. So they made a decree that said that if they found any more Union soldiers dead like that, they were going to kill 2 of the men for every one that they found. And it immediately stopped. So
you mean women? Kill 2 of the women for everyone?
No, they had the men already. They had all the men locked up.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like a hostage type thing. If you do it again, we're going to kill 2 of these guys that we got hostage in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, they were brutal. But these women, man, they were pretty tough, man. I mean, you don't want to get them pissed off at you, man. They're fucking crazy. Ain't they?
I mean, I've been through.
Yeah, well, yeah, Johnny's been through a number of them. So,
Liz died.
Did she really? Liz died. Yeah, he usually seems to find the ones that are like where you're gonna find your pet rabbit boiling on the stove and shit.
Oh man,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Coon ass cooking. You ever heard of coon ass? That's down in Louisiana, though, I think. But
yeah, man. Wow.
She must be asleep, dude.
Yeah, look at that shit right there.
Wow.
I mean, look at that precision in detail.
Is that wood?
But that's no.
Concrete?
No, they said it was just temporary, like plaster and shit. And it's like,
even if it was, that's still
get the fuck out of here, temporary plaster. Look at all that detail. There's no way.
Why would people take the time and that shit to do?
And always with the columns. Like I said
Mhm.
last night, you could just probably make a living back in those times being a column manufacturer.
No shit, or an installer.
You know, right?
They just got a couple circus elephants to lift them up with, right?
Or, which brings me to a point. Something we're finding too, and I've been noticing on my lunch break, is these statues and shit, and I've been paying attention to it, that have their faces knocked off,
Yeah,
or their heads chopped off, either way, and they're always missing hands.
Mhm.
And I wonder if those aren't, if they weren't Nephilim, if they weren't depictions of Nephilim. 6 fingers, maybe elongated head, maybe double rows of teeth, I don't know. But there is a definite deliberate attempt to obliterate what these people looked like for some reason. And I also look at the size of these structures. Now, Nephilim, of course, would have the angelic DNA from the fallen within them, and it would probably give him more extraordinary skills. So when they talk about the mighty men of renown, perhaps they had that kind of influence and were the ones that actually built this architecture. They say that this one city that's like this is where it was founded by Cain after he was banished. So I don't, you know, we only know what we can go by. We know that these little tiny people right here did not fucking build this kind of shit hundreds of years before these people here even existed.
And it's like where you get the idea to come up with some of the like the statues or whatever. You know, you can only, like, maybe it came to people, some artists will say it came to me in a dream or whatever, but it's like your dreams are kind of based on something you've seen before, you'd think, right?
Yeah.
Like you had to have a reference of something you've seen prior to ever, you know, being able to, you know, you can't just, like, I don't know. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but it just seems like you would have, in some time period or another, that would have had to have popped up, and somebody would have had to have drawn it before, seen it before, or whatever. You would have had to have seen it in some capacity, I would think. But
it's just amazing. All this gingerbread, I guess that's what I usually call that kind of stuff. That's on all this. Look at the detail that's carved into this, around this pedestal and these statues, and I mean, this is just amazing.
I'd say it's amazing that all we have is basically Genesis chapter 6 to base all this off of, except for those like Enoch.
Well, there are other books too that you have to look at. There is a book of Cain. Yeah. There is, you know, the book of Adam and Eve. There's the book
how
of
these things have been removed or suppressed.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because especially like the book of Giants, and it specifically mentions in the Bible that they were the mighty men of renown. Mm-hmm. Okay, what are we talking about here? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Right.
You know, and
when you look at these structures, you know what it means. I mean, look at it.
I mean, it looks like that there was some kind of influence. Yeah, I think these are like
mighty men of renown for sure.
I think a lot of it is pre-Diluvian, actually.
I mean, like everything we build is, I mean, for the most part, to scale. You know, so it's like
right.
You'd think that, you know, if there were giants, they would build it to scale for themselves too.
I mean, it's like this, it has to serve purpose, because I mean, what in the world is this right here?
Artwork.
Hey, let's just spend a lot of time and resources on building this thing. And of course, you can see it lights up. It's got lights all over it. It's got lights all over it. This is at the World's Fair.
Showpiece, man. Art.
And I mean, what the hell?
Art, man.
This kind of stuff. I used to find that I used to see this kind of stuff all the time when I was in Germany, and it just blew my mind. But that's what I think is that there is. I think that this was from a time when the Nephilim were ruling, and I don't think it was that long ago. I really don't. I don't think that it's really been, you know, like we've had all this time added to our timeline. Mm-hmm. And I think that like once the earth started to get populated, however that was done, these people, as they started to expand into the realm, they would run across this shit, and you know, they had to claim it.
Well, have you read the Bible completely?
Well,
So-
for the most part, it's not something that you read from cover to cover. It's not a storybook, really.
Sure, I understand what you mean, but there are parts in there where it says that I will give, like, God promises that He will be giving cities over to you that you didn't build by your own hands. I will give these to you, and he also explains the aspect of basically emptying these cities beforehand too. So a lot of that makes sense to me personally, but I don't know if you've read it.
Where's that found at?
I believe it's Deuteronomy and also Exodus. If you want me to find it, I'll go ahead and look it up.
If you could, then we could look that up. That'd be interesting. Because I think that kind of ties in. I mean, it does. It actually does. And you know, they don't pay. They just make mention of it so nonchalantly in what we have of the Bible. And there were giants in the world in those days. Okay, well, tell me more about that. Oh yeah, and the mighty men of renown. Okay, yeah, more about that. Who are these mighty men of renown? And you have to really look into that. And then later on, you got some mention of some giants, Goliath and his brothers at the battle where David slew Goliath. And it's like, and Goliath was like, who were these Philistines? You know, what exactly, what was their story? You know, we don't really look at that. We just look as though it was some other nation of other men. Was it though? Was it other men, or was it Nephilim? Was there a time when man was at war with the Nephilim to overthrow them? I don't know, man. Something really fucking weird going on. That's all I can say about that. I mean, it's just what we know is such. Look at that. And let's say, hey, here's a nice steep grade. Let's build a fucking castle on it. Right? Who does that? Here's a nice steep hill. Let's build it. Let's see if we can build a nice level castle on this steep ass hill.
No, the courthouse is like that.
I know. The courthouse is another one that goes back to 18. Our courthouse here is back 18. I'm wanting to say 14.
It's underground,
1814. Yeah, part of it's underground as well. Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird. Let's just build a courthouse underground. Okay.
Yeah, they tore ours down and built a park as if we needed another one, but
they tore it down when?
They just not too like a year or two ago, and they built a park over, or you know, it wasn't even a nice one, but just a couple benches.
Too much bad juju.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Joshua 24:13.
Joshua 24:13. Let me see what that gets me to here. All right, let's see here. I'm going to bring this over here on this. Wait.
That's one. There's. I'll find more cross references in a moment.
Says, I gave you a land on which you had not labored, and cities that you had not built, and you dwell in them. You eat the fruit of vineyards and olive orchards that you did not plant. The Holy Bible, English Standard Version.
Got it?
Yeah. That's what I was just reading.
I mean, that's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
You think of it in that aspect. Deuteronomy 6:10 through 12.
Oh, Lord.
Deuteronomy 8, verse 7.
Hold on, slow down.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Deuteronomy. What was the first one?
Deuteronomy 6:10 through 12.
Wait, let me see. All right, it says, when the Lord your God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers, it will be a land with large flourishing cities you did not build, and houses filled with good things you did not provide. The houses will be richly stocked with goods that you did not produce. and you will drink from wells you did not dig. Be careful not to forget the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. These verses emphasize God's provision and the importance of remembering Him. And this is after Exodus.
Well, again, man, remember what they say is if you forget history, it shall repeat, right?
Right.
But also, Yeshua or Jesus, whoever you want to call him, continued to promise that the kingdom is at hand. So it makes me wonder, was he really saying that this is going to happen again and a reset was about to happen, right?
What do I see in those windows? Great day in the morning. What is that dog barking about?
The stuff we had to skip over.
Yeah, what? I ain't got time for that. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, this is I don't know what that dog is fucking barking about.
Look at the set of fun bags on that hose hound. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Who's who? That's Brandy. Okay. All right. Is she the one that barked?
Yeah, she is.
Who'd she bark at?
I am me.
Oh.
She looked at me, Mark.
I don't know what her trip is.
Come around.
Anyway, sorry about that. My dog is acting up. But do you see the vortex?
That ain't the only thing I
The thing
see.
that caught my eye was the vortex.
Yeah.
Was on it. Not the boob. Quit looking at the boob. Jeez. Yeah. And there again, the cavity magnetron right there.
Mhm. The arches.
Look at this. It's just, let's just build domes and shit all over everything. And let's put a little bowling trophy up on top of it. Why not?
Exactly. How about can I give you one more, Sovereign?
Sure.
Nehemiah 9:24. So think, like, I really want you to think about this verse itself.
Nehemiah.
On those that were still surviving, and think about it.
What was the guy's? What was it? What was the number?
Nehemiah.
Yeah.
9, verse 24.
Let's see. Blessed be our. Let's see. They went in and took possession of the land. You subdued whole nations before them. Even the Canaanites who inhabited the land were powerless. Your people could deal with these nations and their kings as they pleased.
So who were the Canaanites, Sovereign?
Yeah, right. That's exactly the Canaanites.
They were the giants, right?
Yep, cannibalistic giants.
Yeah. So you went and took their land. So who were these people? They might have been cannibalistic, and that also explains the what do you call it? All the stuff under the Vatican and all that, with all the bones and everything else.
The catacombs.
The catacombs itself. So these are cannibalistic people, and you went and took their land, right? So it explains a lot in that aspect. If you think of it in that.
But I thought they used those bones to make their bread.
Yeah.
That's what they told us when we was kids, anyway.
Right.
But there's a lot of truth in these. You know, you find out that there's some macabre shit involved in these little stories that we tell the kids, right? You got like Hansel and Gretel. What do we got there? We got these kids are lost, right? They're out in the forest and they're lost, and they run across someone who's obviously predatory towards children because she's got a house made out of fucking candy to lure them in, right? And she just happens to be a cannibalistic old bitch too. There's truth in this. Yeah. Okay, the giants, fee fi fo fum. I smell the blood, right? Well, they were cannibalistic, and that fee fi fo fum. There's something to that too. I forget what that was though, man. But ring around the rosy.
And they made vegetables too.
What? Oh,
green giant. I mean, I had to deal with it too. You know, the whole green giant and all of that aspect of it.
The original green giant scared the shit out of a lot of kids, man, because it had like these red eyes. And it was kind of demonic looking in a way, and it scared a lot of kids. They had to rebrand Green Giant when they first came out. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I mean, look at this thing. This is just, what in the world? How lavish can you get? I mean, and who does that kind of work? Who would you call to say, you know, hey, I want this? What do you even call it? Filigree? I don't know, but you know, it's done with purpose. It's done with skilled geometry. It's definitely meaning behind it.
It's all English.
And these are people that just supposedly had chisels and hammers and donkeys, and look at that. Look at that.
Wow.
Even the Victorian era doesn't really even stand up to it as much.
No, that's the one that's up in Winchester, here in Virginia. That's a library up there. Vlad sent that to us last night. There's some unobtainium. You know, some of this shit's got me going, what the fuck? And let's see, Buttered Biscuits has something here. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, it's part of the old bridge, they say, right? Isn't that what they tell you? That's part of the old bridge.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Buttered Biscuits.
Like a low.
Yeah, there we go. So if you see over here, we have you can see it. All right. So you have one section that's still coming across.
Mm-hmm.
That's never been removed. You have the other section that's still going into the mountain itself. It's pretty interesting. That was actually a train going across at that time when I took the picture. There's the Harper's Ferry, you know, all that kind of stuff. They say 1931, right? But look at that one. This one in particular just looks a little odd to me compared to the other one. You know what I mean? They just look a little bit different. This is in the town itself of Harper's Ferry. Obviously, like
below ground.
Yeah, exactly. Just the windows themselves that are kind of under. The whole town is especially like that. This is about a mile from my house. There's no explanation for it itself. This is in Buchanan Park. Actually, maybe 2 miles from my house itself. And this is up in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's nothing around here, but if you go up the hill, this kind of goes down. There's a creek that runs across right here. And then if you go up the hill itself, there's a big mountain that goes across. But there's a lot of different things that I wish I had the excavation to go and yank all this kind of out and take a look at. But again, this is, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, how do you expect that they made this back in the day itself? Look how perfect all of these are.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like it, and this is like 2 miles literally from my house. Look at this. How would they be able to do this, and why would they do it?
How high is it?
Next to a street.
Bridge is like that.
How high is that in perspective? Is that like 6 feet, or is that higher than that?
I am about 4 or 5 feet above it itself. And then there's a creek that's running to the side of it on top of that. And this is on top of it, which is running across. I had my hand up there, but
where does it go?
It's just this little part right here. This is literally it. It's maybe, like a football field, 100 yards.
What do you reckon the purpose of it was?
Probably to bring water in so they could use the ether or something else that we don't know, some kind of technology we don't know. But there's a creek that runs across over on this side, and it runs across this way. But they ended up building this area. Like I said, this is running across. Let me see if I can. The creek runs right over here. You can see where my mouse is. But for some reason, they were trying to divert that itself. They don't have any kind of reason that It's called Buchanan State Park in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
That's literally about 2 miles from my house. So I mean, I just went over there and I went over. I was like, wow, look at this thing, and you can see how it's not very long. It doesn't look very long right here, but it literally is about a football field in length. If you see it running through.
Yeah, it's wild. These things are all over the place. You just got to go out and look for them, and you don't got to look
I was
hard.
thinking, who in the world would go up 1,300 feet and just go and do this kind of thing? But the way that it was built and everything else, the way that it's perfectly smooth and everything else, there's no reasoning. They give nothing behind it, but this is very close to my house. And
is there water running down in it? Or is
yeah, it's still running through. Water's still running through it, and then it ends up. So if you think of it going down, it goes down. Here's a creek. It kind of diverts the creek, and it comes back across into the creek over here.
Oh, okay.
No, it's pretty interesting. I sat up there like, wow, you just sit there and you think, what was here before?
There's probably more off in those woods. I'd go off in the brush and look around a little bit. That's what I do.
Sure there are. Sure there are. But anyways, just
get a metal detector. Probably some kind of.
Get a metal detector out there. Right on. What was I looking at here? So yeah, speaking of giant Nephilim and that kind of thing, I ran across this. Look at there. I keep having to redo everything over here. We see what's going on over here in the chat. Look at there, 124 watching. There's Jehovah's lovely daughter Barbara's with us. GG 1982 Mustang. Nice to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for your donations.
Is it Jehovah's birthday? Is that what I heard?
Yesterday was Barbara's birthday.
All right. Happy birthday.
Let's see. Edwin Johnson. Let's see who else I got. Chris Fitzpatrick is here with us tonight as well. Derek Nelson. Let's see who did I miss also. OA. Greg, good to see you, my man. Mojo is here with us too. Good to see you, my man. Sarah G. Frank Noble. Awakened Nemesis. Let's see who else have I got. Mark Purcell. I think you've been here for a little bit. I got you twice. That's cool. Anyway, got a lot of good people in the chat. Everybody always enjoys my chat. I don't know why, but anyway.
And the skeleton of the giant in Ecuador is actually in the museum in Ecuador. Here it is. It's been reconstructed and it's actually in the museum. You can go and see it. A 7-meter giant in the museum in Ecuador. These are just small giants because when you read Leviticus, it says that we were like locusts by their side. And in the book of Enoch, it says the giants were 3,000 ells tall. 1 ell is about just less than half a meter. That means it would make the giants 1.5 kilometers or just less than 1 mile tall. And some of you may have seen the new discoveries of the giant trees that we seem to have lost around the world that were somehow chopped down. I now believe that many of those trees were accompanied by giants as well. And we have lots of remains of giants. This might be a real giant heart of a giant 150 meters tall. And it just so happens that this, what I recently only saw as a rock that was strategically placed just beneath that giant footprint. This is a rock. It's like a marker stone that's been placed there, very strategically, put upright and propped up with other rocks. And you see that little round thing there? That could be where the aorta came in. You can even see the little thing moving away from it. When you start looking at mud fossils and fossilized bones, things change quite dramatically. It's a complete metamorphosis and a change in mineralogy that happens during mud fossilization. It is a subject that not too many people know too much about.
Yeah, this narrative that it takes millions of years to fossilize shit, that's horse crap. It doesn't. It's just to make that's just to feed their little Darwinistic bullshit timeline that they try to float at us.
I never made it out to the redwoods, but I'd really like to go out there sometime.
Oh, They're amazing, man.
I bet.
You see these things as big around as buildings, damn near. You know, you're like, what the fuck? You know, they got some carved out. You drive your car right through them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, holy shit.
I was close by there, but I never made it. I really like to get out there again.
We went to this little restaurant up there in a place that was at one time a logging community, and they had this in the lunch hall that was for the workers, but they, you know, it's not a logging camp anymore, and they've got it served up to where it's a restaurant. Anyway, they serve the really good food, family style, and in one part of the building they've got like a museum, and dude, I'm talking about saw blades, big round saw blades, as tall as your house, that they had hooked up on these fucking mills. And chainsaws went like from the early 20th century, these gasoline powered chainsaws that it take two people to fucking run it, two people to hold the thing and run it. I mean, just some amazing shit. And these photographs of guys standing up like next to a tree that they felled by the end of it. And this thing's as big as a house behind them. It's like, it's amazing.
With them talking about the giants and everything, you wonder, like, was there more trees out there like the redwoods all over the place that they used to make whatever buildings or whatever for themselves? Who knows? But
what is this, Butter Biscuit? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I worked for Congressional Federal Credit Union. And I got a tour of the Capitol. Okay, so this is underground at the U.S. Capitol, and this is that subway that they have underground. If you haven't seen it before, I mean, this is literally it. This is, if you like look down the thing itself, you can tell this thing wasn't just built by us. This was built way before us. You know what I mean? There it is for Longwood, Weyburn buildings itself, the U.S. Capitol. This is the ISIS. This is basically the same lady that's on top of the U.S. Capitol itself. That's ISIS. That's the
terrorists.
You know, like the Dominican. What's it called? The DC. I can't think of it. Anyways, research it. That's myself right there. So that's me standing in front of it. This is inside of the Capitol and the library and also the Supreme Court area. This is the top of the Capitol. So you can see what everybody kind of is talking about. I want to show a few people to show that was there, but there you go. There's Abraham Lincoln in there. But here's really interesting part is that they have a picture of the Earth, and the Earth itself was flat. You see that? Isn't that amazing? So that's inside of the Capitol itself, but it's showing that it's flat itself, and it's in a circular region. There you go. And I don't know what this is. This part. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I had to zoom in, but my camera wasn't very good. But still, you have some additional areas, kind of like what you were mentioning last night. That's on top of that's the Capitol in the background. That's myself right here, and some people from work. So, but yeah, I was at least able to. Get some pictures inside of there. But when I was in there, they were also mentioning about they were saying about there are some parts that were underground that nobody could actually go to, and they were off limits. There is a lot of tunnels.
Yeah. Oh, there's tunnels all over DC.
So, you know, it was pretty amazing.
That's how Kennedy got the hookers in and out, see?
I had to go in there with a tag and everything else, and
You sure this wasn't January 6th and not your pardon?
Yeah.
No, I'm sure, man. That would
I've seen photos, man.
that would have been way before. Yeah, that's me. That's here. I'll say real quick. This is September 2018. So I was trying to pop a couple off real quick. I just thought some of these are pretty interesting. If you see this, they have the snake down here on the end. Again, it's September 20th, 2018. This is Magna Carta replica and presentation case. So,
well, they spend a lot of time trying to make Lincoln like he's a great guy, and that to me is like trying to polish up a turd.
Memorial.
That dude is horrible, man. He was horrible.
No kidding. So, but just wanted to share a couple of those pictures. I've been bouting around, man. That's
oh yeah. I'm gonna take a trip up to DC probably this spring when the cherry blossoms are blooming around the tidal basin.
Hey, this is afterwards. A couple of guys from work and all that stuff.
Oh, I'm not sharing anymore.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But as far as like these big ass giants, man, you know that we've seen them. Look at that dude Yao Ming. You remember him?
Yeah, the
Chinese basketball player. First off, that was hilarious to me.
He made Shaq look small.
He did.
Yeah, he was like 8. He was like 7'8",
9 or something. Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
Remember Wilt Chamberlain?
Yeah.
That dude. Remember he was in the Conan movie. Who was that dude that was in the Conan movie? Was that him?
I think that was Wilt. Or no, that was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right?
No.
Or was it Wilt Chamberlain? I don't remember.
It was Wilt Chamberlain. I'm pretty sure. But I mean, check this. This is crazy right here. Don't need to hear the music.
No.
That's that dude right there. That dude right there. Yeah, my grandfather.
About 10 feet tall or 9'8" or something.
My grandfather met him. He was from. I think this dude was in El Dorado. And my grandfather.
They have that. They have like replicas of him, like Ripley's Believe It or Not and stuff.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's crazy right there. I mean, how many fingers does he have too?
Yeah, no.
It looks like 5. Okay. Dude. I mean, you see some of these things and you're like, who in the hell is going to use that? But I could play devil's advocate too. You know, you've gone in and it's a popular dining room decor, the big wooden fork and the big wooden spoon on the wall. You know, imagine somebody maybe in 500 years finds those someplace and they go, look, these were from giants, you know. But I mean, we have actual photographic evidence of giants. We've got footprints. We've got artistic impersonations, you know, of different times depicting them, whether it be the Egyptian artifacts or just some of the frescoes that we look at. It's insane. There's obviously, and that's what I think that these so-called impossible structures were actually built by not human but Nephilim. I really do. And then found later after the flood. You know,
I think that's a wonderful guess and observation.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot put this into any.
There's no other reason why these things would be the way they are.
The logistics is what throws it for me, man. It's
the windows.
Yeah, well, Well, not just the sizes of the structures themselves. Yeah, that's part of it too. But I'm talking about like what it would take to make something like that, even by today's standards.
It would be insane. It just, we can't do it. We cannot. I mean, what are you going to do? 3D print it at this point? I mean,
even the CNC machine, it's like we ain't got nothing on that scale.
And they sell us the idea that we're more advanced now.
We're not.
And we're not. I mean, look at like you can look at these things and then new stuff that goes up around it. And it's like, wow, look at that's a real nice box with windows on it, you know, next to some grand ornate stone structure like that. And it's like, holy shit, you didn't even try.
The only thing we figured out is maybe glass. Our glass is maybe a little bit better, but outside of that, no.
I don't know. Did we though? We don't even know that.
We don't even know that because these things could have been blown out. Glass is the first thing to go, right?
Right. They replace it. But I mean, and so meanwhile, they constantly are selling us on this idea that we're going to go to Mars. I ran across this fucking thing from Elon Musk on X, and it said, "Welcome to Mars." And this is what he's trying to push. This is what these globe heads have in their brains, man. Look at this shit.
Welcome to Mars.
Notice the very low hypnotic style voice. Welcome to Mars.
I'm gonna smoke a pipe first.
Oh, we can have that on Mars, but not here, right?
It reminds me of Blade Runner.
Humanity will be multiplanetary.
Looks like it's rainy all the time. That sucks.
Not very climate friendly.
The beginning of a new age.
Wonder if the Jetsons are there yet.
Soon, very soon.
Mars.
Right.
What was that from?
Oh, that was Elon Musk put that out.
Oh, he did? Oh.
Yeah. Good old Elon. The Elon.
One of his people did anyway.
Yeah, he didn't do it. It was on his, he tweeted it out.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to Mars.
Harry Balls. Did you see that? Did you see it? Somebody,
Yeah.
you know Dana Bash from CNN? So he must have changed his X account or whatever to like Harry Balls. So
Yeah.
she was reporting on that, and she had to read that out on when she was on live on air. She's like, "Oh, Harry Balls."
So you know how this stuff has kind of made people think that perhaps we're in the short season. And here's another. I found another take on this. I'll put the closed captions on too. But you know, I like to look at all the sides of it. You know, we don't know. We just know that whatever we've been told, it's a fucking lie. So we have to try to piece together what we can find, what we can decipher, and what we can discern. So I like to look at both sides of the argument. This girl says that we are not in the short season.
We are not in the short season. Preterism is a satanic deception that you only fall for if you do not read the Bible. Let's debunk it with common sense. First off, the firmament is still there. There's still stars in the sky. Heaven and earth are not combined. We're not in hell. We're on earth. We still have the sea. There's going to be no more seas. At the second coming, Jesus will restore the original language before the Tower of Babel. I'm fairly certain that we're not speaking the language that Adam and Eve were speaking. There's many different languages. God promised in Genesis that he would never flood the earth again. So the mud flood doesn't work. When Jesus says that some standing here will not pass, that's John. John has no recorded death. John is still alive somewhere on this flat biblical earth. When Jesus said this generation will not pass, you have to cross-reference verses to understand what he's saying. He's talking about the blues. Every time that the word generation is used, it's always in reference to the Pharisees. Like when he says this evil, wicked generation always asking for a sign, when he's talking to the Pharisees, he's saying that the blues will not be totally destroyed until the end. Like how in Revelation, it talks specifically about destroying them. We're not all walking around with marks on our hand or forehead to be able to buy or sell. Everybody will have the mark of the beast. They claim Nero is the Antichrist. Nero never went to Jerusalem. In 70 AD, the world population was about 170 million. In Revelation, there's an army of 200 million. Let's not forget the Bible tells us the earth is about 6,000 years old. So just based on timelines, we know a day is like 1,000 years. So I would say it's pretty reasonable to say that 6,000 years of humanity and 1,000 years millennial reign, which we would be coming up on. They make Satan their god by assigning him 1,000-year reign, when if you do the math, you would come up with about 3 to 4 years max for the short season. This is a false satanic doctrine. Everybody that believes that we are in the short season, I can immediately tell that they have not read the Bible. They prefer conspiracy theories that tell them what the Bible says. And I'm a conspiracy theory person, but not about the Bible. When I can read it myself, I don't need somebody else to tell me what it says. I don't say this to hurt feelings. I'm not going to be arguing with anybody in the comments about this, but let's not deceive ourselves. They're working overtime to deceive us with that theory. They don't even have to do anything because you guys are deceiving each other. And everybody that believes in preterism spends all of their time just trying to convince others of it rather than actually just reading the Bible and figuring out that it's very clearly not the truth. No biblical Christian believes that we are in the short season. We all know the season that we are actually in. You guys are not going to be spiritually prepared if you keep holding on to this preterism stuff. This is why it's so important to read the Bible, guys. Do not let others deceive you. Don't deceive yourself by reading conspiracy theories. Just read the book.
All right, boys and girls, can I say a couple things, Sal?
Right, go right ahead.
We are not in the short.
First off, where does the Bible say there's a second coming? Nowhere. You will never find second coming in the Bible. Second off, you can find that Jesus came once as a baby. Second time, when he went up to his father and came back down and asked Thomas to, he said, well, hey, Thomas, if you don't believe that I am who I am, then go ahead and put your fingers through my hand. At first, he was like, don't touch me. You remember when he woke up and he was like, don't touch me. And then he went up and then he came back down. He was like, okay, you can touch me, no problem. And he ate fish with him. That was 2 times. Now you have a third time he's going to come. So that's already baseless because you're going to say, well, the second coming hasn't happened yet. But second coming did happen, obviously. Right? What else is she going off about? If you believe this, I mean, honestly, in my aspect, if you believe anything that the mainstream is pushing, it's incorrect. So you need to be skeptical. You need to understand that there are other things that are out there that you need to be aware of, and you don't have to necessarily claim them like, oh, I believe that this is the way it is, that we're living in the little season. So on and so forth. There's evidence that there is, and you need to be aware of it. And to just deny something outright is very dangerous. It's always been dangerous. Yeshua, Jesus, whatever you want to say, has always been clear about that. On top of that, so my opinion, I think she's she needs to go back to class and hopefully, I used to be the same way. I used to be like, oh, there's absolutely no way that this could be and all this. But, I mean, look at the evidence, sit back, and say, you know what? It really could be. And don't ever put a little pinpoint and say, I know exactly how it was. That's it.
No, you can't. You can't. You can't. And there again, let all men be liars.
Yeah. That's Romans 3:4.
At the end of the day, man, everything that we do have is come to us by other men.
Romans 3:4, if anybody needs to check it. Let all men be liars, and you gotta be true. Gotta be true.
I want that. And I'm gonna...
That's right.
So yeah, I thought that was kind of. So what do you Trump's little anti-Semite law? What do you guys think about that? Where he's going to want to.
You can't talk about those people.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the same one that he kind of pushed through before, but now he's pushing it harder?
I think, yeah, I think so. Check this out.
He already pushed it through back in 2020, didn't he? Right before he got out, and then
he was pushing toward that. I don't know if anything ever came of it for real, but you know, I mean, look, that's really getting bad when, you know, if what's being said is not popular or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can, it's just like going to Golden Corral, okay? You can pick and choose what you put on your plate, okay? You get an opportunity to see everything that's available, and you can pick and choose what you want to put on your plate.
Mm-hmm.
You can even taste a few things that you've never had before. You might like it, you might not, okay? And this is exactly how speech is. And this is one of the things behind free speech, is that the crap will fall away.
Yeah, transvestites and all that kind of stuff. It's going to fall apart.
The valuable aspect of it is going to float to the top. The valuable aspect of it is going to be filtered away from the crap. And that's pretty much how the shit works.
Yeah.
So
it'll be magnified, right?
Well, if you have a viewpoint and you express it, and it's a popular opinion, people agree with that viewpoint, then it will gain some traction if there's validity in it. Okay.
Yeah, what I meant was the airs will be expounded upon and magnified to the aspect that you'll realize how much of an error it actually was.
I don't follow.
So if you're teaching something like transvestites or something and so on and so forth, it's going to be such an error. It's going to be so magnified. It's going to be like,
yeah, that's not what I was getting at.
It's going to be so big that it's going to compound.
He's talking about free speech.
I'm just talking about free speech itself. Okay.
Yeah.
How you.
But that's how you allow free speech to work itself out, is to allow it to work itself out, right?
Well, yeah, and now you have to walk that fine line. What is free speech and what is indoctrination? Okay, right. When you have a group of people that are captive, as children are, and you start pushing that shit at them at a young, impressionable age, you don't have the right to do that. Okay, right. That's why I think that all public education should be fucking abolished immediately. Because that's all it is. It's just indoctrination.
That's why my kids are homeschooled. Amen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing you can do. The worst thing you can do, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people in a position where they don't have any other option because of the type of a society that we live in. And we did that to ourselves through the manipulation, through our own manipulation. Told women that, oh, why would you want to be stuck at home and have to raise a family and shit while your husband goes out and has all the fun working and stuff? You have equal rights. Burn your bra. Don't have a family. Go out and have your career. Da, 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 da. You can be as good as a man. Where it's like, what do you mean as good as a man? They're counterparts to one another. Okay. So what they did, they convinced all these women to go out there and do this shit. Right. And now when they do have a family, because of the way the tax rate has gone up, now you have a dual taxed family. Dual income is required in order to even raise a family or even to survive. And they did that to themselves. Now, what did you actually gain out of it? Nothing. All you did was make yourself busy so that you had no other option but for the state to raise your children. Yes, that's what they're doing. When you send your children off to the government for 6 to 8 hours a day or more, and then off to some after school program or whatever, because you have to work late, You are letting the enemy raise your children. They don't give a shit if you like what they're doing or not. What else are you going to do about it? Nothing. Especially if they pass legislation making it illegal for you to say anything. Now that's where the shit, that's not free speech. Okay, that's not where you have a captive group. It's the same thing as what a re-education camp is. That's some place where they imprison people and bombard them with propaganda to change their way of thinking. See, so that's where you got to be careful. And it can backfire the other way, stretch like a rubber band. You know, there's people saying, yeah, we don't need this disgusting, horrible shit in our children's faces, blah, blah, blah. I agree. However, who has the right to tell someone else what they can and cannot read, what they can and cannot look at? That's sort of like somebody walking up to you while you're at the Golden Corral, and there might be somebody that doesn't like fried okra, and when you come by the fried okra, they cover up your eyes, so you don't even know about the fried okra. You're not even able to make a decision for yourself. So it's a slippery slope. You have to differentiate liberty from man's constraints and laws with the difference of liberty from God's law. Okay? And so when you're looking at liberty from God's law, now you're imposing your own morality. Whereas when you try to keep them at a balance, you have liberty against the impositions of other men. However, you don't have liberty against the impositions of God's law. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is what you got to look at. What did they mean by liberty? We assume it to be liberty from a man's constraints, from a tyrant's constraints, from another person's will, right? But in reality, a lot of these people, and you look at them, a lot of the founding fathers were also at liberty from God's law. You look at men such as Benjamin Franklin, kind of an evil guy, really. He was part of the Hellfire Club. He was into some pretty dark shit, man. He found bodies under his house in London.
Bohemian Grove.
The protocols of Zion said that they would completely destroy the word liberty itself. Have you read that? They would destroy that word so it would never be mentioned among people ever again, or something to that effect.
I'll bring this up real quick. This was actually from this is a quote, okay? So this is not Sovereign Soul saying this. This is somebody who's on our money, actually, okay? And we revere this guy as somebody really cool. There's a whole chain of stores named after this fella, okay? And he said, quote, "Wherever Jews have settled, they have lowered its morals, depreciated its commercial integrity, segregated themselves, sneered at and undermined Christianity, built up a state within a state, and when opposed, tried to strangle that country financially. If you don't exclude the Jews from this nation, in 200 years, your children will curse you." Anybody guess who said that?
All about the Benjamins.
Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's get Ford.
He said that at the Constitutional Convention in 1787.
And here we are.
Yep. Well, you know, just saying. Anyway, listen, now here's the thing about that. All right, check this out.
Here's what's happening if you're retarded and you can't see it. A little over a week ago, Donald Trump passes the anti-Semitism bill, which literally overrides the First Amendment. Then his old friend Kanye West goes on a Jewish tirade on Twitter, has a Super Bowl ad to direct people to his website to buy his shit, and then literally just sells a swastika. If you can't see that they're using Kanye West to take away the First Amendment, I think you're a fucking retard. A plant trying to make the First Amendment illegal. And I'm the one with the copper crown on my head. All of the alt-right that is now starting to notice Israel's crimes against humanity is also help furthering the agenda. Because the more they notice, the more they reinforce the inevitable censorship that is now happening.
Have you ever seen that guy that he just showed, Rabbi Shmuley?
Yeah, from time to time.
Oh my God! Now, he's got to be an establishment character that they've put out there.
The name is
to foment this. It's to foment this bullshit, you know. Because I'm like, I was one guy like that get into so many arguments in the street with people, and have it caught on film. And
they've had him on InfoWars before, haven't they? A couple of times.
I don't know. I stopped watching InfoWars a long time ago. I catch a little bit of some of the shit on Twitter.
Yeah.
Time to time. But
you'll see clips and stuff. So.
You know, they say don't ever meet your heroes, right?
Yeah.
After I met Alex Jones, I had a completely different
I can imagine.
opinion of it. I mean, it was like a feeling. I was just like, oh.
I agree with you. I met him back in Bilderberg of 2015, I think it was. 2015, 2016. Chantilly.
2012. I went in 2011 or 12 in Chantilly.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah. All right. Well, forgive me if I don't remember the years.
I know Luke Radowski was there. I met Luke Radowski.
Yeah, Mark Dice was there. Luke Radowski. I might have met you even, but I don't know.
I wasn't doing anything like this then. I did call attention to one of those cops that was, trying to keep everybody away. He was over across the street, and he got out of his squad car and he started pissing in the bush. And I said, look, there's a cop pissing in the bush. He'd arrested. And they just got done arresting some people for going over there and pissing in them same bushes across the highway. And everybody started putting their cameras on this motherfucker while he's over there pissing in the bush. One of the cops.
I have stories, but I will not share them online. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. I was there and I met him. He came a little bit later, if you remember. I don't know what time he came, but he came maybe about 2 or 3 p.m. Alex Jones did. Luke was there early, and Mark Dice was there early. Mark, I don't know what happened to Mark. What are your thoughts on him, Mark Dice?
Oh man, something happened to him. He blew a spring a long time ago, I think.
He's not the same. I saw he had a recent video come out, and he was saying
he's got where he bounces in his chair like this all the time.
Yeah, but recently he just had a video come out, and he was talking about the Super Bowl, and he was talking about how bad Kansas lost and all this kind of stuff. Nothing on point of Mark Dice. It was just like, they completely lost and they ruined it, and they could have won. And I was like, who is this?
He's trying to do more like comedy type stuff a little bit, but
it's terrible. Yeah. It's really, really bad. I don't know what happened to him. If he got bought out, he just took the paycheck, and I don't know.
Yeah, I did. I even forgot that damn game was even going to happen until I said, "Oh, so what are you doing for the Super Bowl?" I was like, "All right, is that this weekend?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Let's just be careful of who we watch and who we listen to. That's
well, I said, I was like, "Who's in it?" I didn't even know who the fuck was going to be in it. I don't care. No. I see it as like it bores the shit out of me. Yeah. I can't sit there and watch that fucking bullshit. It bores the shit out of me.
That's more mind.
Well, Mark used to be religious about going over about the Super Bowl halftime report and that kind of stuff, and going over the Illuminati. But he didn't even do it this year, so it was really, like interesting and telling. All he had to kind of say was about the game itself. It had nothing to do with
maybe his funding from USAID got cut. He's just not trying now. Yeah. Anyway, let me get through this thing.
Everybody's talking about USAID going towards censoring Americans.
USspending.gov, you can go check this out yourself. But the Department of Defense actually gave Thomson Reuters, which of course many of you know is news. They're also involved in a lot of mainstream media. They have a COVID-19 spending contract that was awarded to them. So they were awarded about $9.1 million. And I'm not making this up. It's right here. Large-scale social deception.
All while Americans don't realize they're already being censored, even though some of you believe you're noticing, all while celebrating someone like Kanye West, who is actually being used to speed up the process of taking away freedom of speech. But here's what the actual fucking problem is. If you still believe in left-right paradigms, conservative liberal, I think you're fucking retarded. If you want to talk about genocides, but won't acknowledge the one happening on your own soil, abortion, I think you're fucking retarded. If you can't see that all politics is playing into the same hand, which is total enslavement of humanity for those in control, I think you're fucking retarded. The real fucking problem is tribalism, whether you listen to country or hip hop and identify with either or. The problem is the tribalism that comes with it. Tribalism stems from the base level motion of survival. And the reason why humans get worked up over shit that seemingly doesn't matter is because majority of the world is literally living in survival mode. Most of you have never fucking meditated one day in your life and have no idea how to control your stress if something bad happens to you throughout the day, which then carries over into you becoming reactive over everything that happens outside of your control. Gas prices and food going up, rent going up, mortgages, which is all manufactured stress from the people in control. So when they give you more stimuli to react to, you fall for the fucking bait every time. And the reason why tribalism is especially retarded in 2025 is because they're literally disclosing aliens. So every time you react about what a white person, black person, liberal, Republican, Hispanic, illegal, Jewish, or any other person does outside of you, you forward the agenda that they are literally socially programming you into. And your reactions continue to feed the cycle. So what's the solution? Realize that there's good and evil, and that humans are just humans, and that there's good humans and evil humans in every race. Learn how to control your emotions and stop giving into things and agendas that are literally there to make you reactive. And stop worshiping celebrities or people you feel are above you, who are literally where they are because they've been planted to be there. And maybe, just maybe, we'll actually be able to take our world back before we get dog walked in AI communist dick.
Gotta agree, man.
Right on.
Here's what's happening if you're retarded.
Yeah, I mean,
have you ever seen that channel? It's called Nuclear Vault. It's on YouTube.
No, I don't think so.
There's a little thing on there that is like it's about mind control and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's like old interviews from television that they did that they would never be able to show now. But there's all kinds of other stuff too.
Oh,
and there's like commercials and stuff, like old commercials, like for nuclear bomb attacks and stuff. How the duck and cover turtle.
We're gonna. Oh, yeah. Listen, they had us doing that shit. I lived that.
Yeah.
Duck and cover bullshit. I did.
Have you watched Dark and Rose?
What?
Or Larkin Rose?
Larkin Rose. Yeah, I've watched some of his stuff.
Yeah, he had a good one to come out recently about voting and all that. It was pretty good.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I got a couple of things about the firmament, man, that I found. This is wild. First, I'll do this one on Twitter here first. This is pretty good. What's happening, Porter?
Hey, what was the last guy talking? Was that like MMA guy that was talking about the Earth?
So. He was on that documentary too on Flat Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I think that was that guy.
Yeah, it's not. It was. It's only on Solid's channel. That is just awesome, dude.
So
this guy finds his stuff, y'all. He's like, he drops these bombs that just blow your mind.
But yeah, like what that guy was just talking about.
That is pretty cool, though.
He's
like just telling you just straight up,
This is that same guy. This is that Rabbi Shmuley. This guy gives it watches.
Yeah, that guy.
Did you hear that? This guy lights into it. Watch.
People like you are the fucking problem. I find it incredible that he's over here so critical of Kanye West, right? About, he beats his wife, whatever. Meanwhile, you're walking around with a war criminal that's killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people, bombed them indiscriminately, etc. If you're so hardcore on Twitter about some tweets versus you're running around with someone that's literally a war criminal wanted by the ICC that's killed tens of thousands of innocent children, right? And then you're over here calling for censorship. I'm tired of anti-Semitism. I'm tired of racism. People like you are the fucking problem, because here's the thing. Americans are tired of censorship. We're tired of being browbeat into being virtue signaling losers like you. You go ahead and you provoke problems with people. I've literally seen you do this. You go up to people, you provoke them, and they tell you off, and then you get mad and you yell anti-Semitism. Rabbi Shmuley, until you can actually call people liars, no one cares about anti-Semitism anymore. You guys run around, use it for everything, saying, oh, that's anti-Semitic. How about this? When you can call someone a liar for what they're saying, then we'll start taking you more seriously. Other than that, you're a fucking dildo rabbi.
That's listen, this is what I don't like about
people
this,
like you are the fucking
about this fucking you know, what they're going to deem as anti-Semitic. Who gets to be the arbitrator of that?
Yeah.
So who was he smacking down, Saul?
What's that?
That Rabbi Shmuley guy.
What is he, some kind of big time Jewish person, spokesman or something?
Yeah, he runs around. You see him on Twitter and shit like that. And
Alex Jones debated him, and he was calling him a dildo salesman.
The Jewish guy that he was
dildos,
smashing.
I guess.
Who is he? Is that who you were talking about, Bear?
The guy on the bottom was the guy I was talking about. That's the Rabbi Shmuley guy. This guy.
Oh
this
my
guy right
God!
here.
I got
In
you.
the
Got
bottom.
you.
Yeah,
he was
it was
taking beaten.
Yeah, listen, you ought to hear him. He's got that irritating ass voice, you know, and just wants to talk over. And I mean, he's terrible. I'll find something with him here.
Supposedly he sells dildos, like for real.
What?
yeah. Look into it.
Oh,
it's a Jewish rabbi owns Pornhub.
Exactly. Yeah.
No doubt, right?
You know, I mean, is a majority of the people that run. Listen, this goes all the way back, even at the beginnings of Hollywood. Oh, okay, that's what I was doing. Man, I smoked too much pot. Speaking of which, I'm going to put a link. I have to get. Who did I send that?
Well, if
to?
you know, if a Jesuit priest says that there's a big bang, you got to question everything they say.
There it is. Okay.
Everything.
So, if you've seen a lot of times in a lot of these videos where like they'll talk about the Rothschilds, and they'll show a clip from an old movie from like the 30s.
Yeah.
And he's talking to his sons about setting up the banks in the different parts of the world.
Yeah, the kid in the bed.
I found the movie on Internet Archive.
Yeah.
So you can watch it free. I'm going to put the link down here in the chat, and I'm going to put it in the private chat if you want to see it. Now, if you watch this, oh my God.
Oh man.
Keep in mind, this was produced to make the Rothschilds look good.
Right.
And if this was all the better you could make them look, I can only imagine how truly awful they are in reality. You know what I mean? So
I heard
I'm going to grab
one of them that was just all about war, just straight up wanted to demolish it.
Let's see. We're going to put that over here. Paste. So anybody that wants to check that movie out, it's free on the internet. I'm going to put it over here in the chat here. Paste it. Oh, I did. Or I already did it here. I did. Oh, there it is again. I meant to put it over in Rumble. My bad. In case there's anybody over there. I don't see anybody in the chat on Rumble. Y'all better go over and be subscribe to my Rumble channel, because this weekend we're going to show Passion of the Christ. And we're going to start out over here and talk about, you know, the movie and versus, you know, what people's opinions that have seen it, you know. And then we're going to jump over onto Rumble, and there's the link to like tonight's show, which you can subscribe to my channel over there. And we're going to show Passion of the Christ, I think, Saturday evening. Do it early enough so that some of the people over in UK be able to watch as well. You know, won't be too late for them. So it'll probably be early evening, about 6:30, 7 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock, somewhere in there. I'll work it out and see what it looks like for time periods for people. But it's also their Saturday night, so they'll be able to not have to worry about working tomorrow, hopefully, you know, on Sunday. So anyway, that's where that's at. Let me see what else I had here.
Where is it they don't show Rumble, or where it's blocked? Isn't there?
I don't know.
There's like a couple countries I want to say that don't get it.
Oh, I'm not familiar. There was.
I know.
Oh, did you guys?
I'm pretty sure France is one for sure. I could be. I shouldn't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Did you guys see where there's this woman? I'm going to turn the closed captions off. It's coming.
Sovereign, I was hoping you were going to show some of the rebuttals or whatever that my lunch break made. Are you still going to do that? Yeah, like he was like turning back on, oh, I'm not really meaning this. I didn't watch them, so I don't know if you had any of those, but.
Which one you mean? Not my lunch break. You're talking about Air One. Whatever. Yeah, we're gonna cover those. Yeah. I just thought we'd just kind of freestyle it tonight before, and kind of anybody had some shit they wanted to discuss. But I got to thinking about that. You know, I'm like these statues that are missing their heads. You know, purposely cut off, no hands. You know, and it's like. And I've also seen evidence that looks like where a toe has been removed to make it look like a bigger gap between the first, you know, the great toe and then the rest of the toes. And it's almost like you can almost clearly see where they chiseled out and polished it up, took out that sixth toe for some reason. And what is going on? Mm-hmm. What is it they're not really wanting us to know, especially when it's really there? I mean, Butter Biscuits just directed us to some of the scripture that indicate
where they remove the tops of things that go up to possible energy sources and whatnot.
Right. Well, and listen, this is what gets you is because you're relegated into thinking about this being so long ago. Yeah. Right. And that's, I think, where it gets you, because I don't think it was so long ago. I think it was probably within at least the last 500 years.
Why would Christ come and say that the kingdom is at hand? He kept saying it, right? The kingdom is at hand. The kingdom is at hand. Yeah. Realize that the kingdom is at hand. And then he said, I would not return for you unless I was to do it myself. It's not a kingdom built by hands, but a kingdom that I'm going to build for you. I'm going to come back and grab you or gather you together. So these people, in my opinion, are actually watching us, literally. And in my thoughts, we might actually be living in that short time when people are above us in this New Jerusalem. And by the way, folks, the New Jerusalem is the bride. The New Jerusalem is the bride. So Revelation 21 continues to say, the New Jerusalem is the bride. Everybody likes to say, my church, my church, my church. My church, the church is the bride. The church is not the bride. The church is not the bride. So I hope people can maybe do a little delusive evidence on that and go back and, find out that, the 10 virgins, everything else, if they put Matthew 24, so on and so forth. But if you go back and you look at this, New Jerusalem, which is built not with human hands, is coming down from heaven. And that's a thing that was promised. And the kingdom was at hand at that time. So for some reason, whatever this whole thing with this mud flood, my opinion is it's not a mud flood. It's probably something like everything was burnt up, and it could have been already a volcanic eruptions throughout the world. And what people want to call a mud flood could be volcanic eruption, something like that, that's been built upon itself. And that makes it a lot more sense to me, because everything's supposed to burn, right? But there's certain things that can't burn, and the certain things that can't burn would be what? Stone.
Maybe the mud, though, is just a result of the flood. You see, we're assuming that people were living in things and in a society that's like depicted in your Bible story books. Okay.
Right.
That doesn't mean that's what it was. Right. I think that like a lot of this was probably these built by these mighty men of renown that they had gone around. I mean, there was these Nephilim.
But we have this what's the word? The Ignatian, whatever it is. We have this thought that, okay, well, we watch, like the time of Christ, and we think it's that time just because they didn't mention who mentions in our time we turned on the electricity, or we drove somewhere or something else. It's very slim that anyone ever mentions this stuff. These things could have been removed from the books themselves, and most likely they never would have ever been there just because we traveled somewhere. Traveled, not drove. Driving, drove, drive. That's where we get the whole aspect of our independent rights. And now we're going back and we're trying to look back in time to think, oh, well, we're greater than they were and we're building upon ourselves. But there was nothing that we were building upon ourselves, like Ecclesiastes says. Is there anything that has been built or been done before we have been, before our time before? If that makes sense.
Well, my contention, my idea is that it's actually we're in. I mean, we know that that part of this collective amnesia that we've all been given is that no, we don't know who we are. We don't know when we are. What day is it? What year is it? We're told, but this was given to us, right? And people have fucked with that. They have changed the timeline a number of times to where, we're not even clear as to how long ago anything really was. We know we can't take their historical narrative to heart because, my God, they're telling me that some of these structures that you look at, these are people walking around with horses and shit. They didn't even have any hard roads, and they're building these structures in fantastic amounts of time. Whereas you couldn't even build it with that kind of, you couldn't build it with modern tools like that. There ain't even anybody that knows how to do that shit, which it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you would think that would be one of the basic things first passed down in architecture school, right?
Yeah, nobody even has like a degree in this type of stuff. They love to give out degrees in this type of all different types of architecture, but not this kind because nobody can explain.
This kind. You're right. That's a very good point.
It's all 90-degree grids and shit. Yeah. Everything we live in is 90 degrees. We've got square.
They can't even do it with CAD.
Yeah, right. It's amazing to me. Amazing to me.
So we're promised a new heavens and a new earth, right? And for the very first time, humans themselves will see the new earth created. Because in the very first time, we weren't even created until the sixth day. Earth was already created, right? So now we're coming to the aspect that we are getting to the point that maybe we have been laying dead, and we're getting to the point that Satan has owned and been able to, what's the right word for it? Just mitigate the entire earth itself, right?
Well,
but I'll tell you this. Now we're waiting for Yeshua to come back in my opinion, maybe, possibly, for the third time. He's going to come back for the third time. And when he comes back, he's going to come back with this big structure. It's almost 2,000 miles long on each side in a square aspect, which is probably, in my opinion, 4 by 4 by 4 by 4, and going to be a, like a pyramid shape, which is why there's such a big pyramid and all this aspect. It's going to come down out, and all the stars and everything else are going to fall, and it's going to come back down onto the earth. And we're going to barely like witness this thing coming down.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll see what happens, you know. There's a lot of stories out there. People tell me all kinds of different stuff that's going to happen and all this other. And I'm like, ain't nobody knows what's going to happen.
Nope.
Nobody knows. One person knows what's going to happen.
Not one.
Not a single one. What's happening, Mr. Tony Drake? How you tonight, brother? All right.
Yeah, how you going, Dave?
What's happening, brother? What?
Well, your son Ryan, he's been studying law for like 40 years, and he claims he's the most expert on the law.
He's not even 40 years old.
I was gonna say.
I think he started before that. Anyway, hey,
he's a time traveler.
He the other day he went right back to the earliest law, and he was talking about the people in Northern Europe that their law was never written down, because they used to say once you start writing it down and you start spelling, then you can corrupt the law. Yeah. So instead of us fighting and playing in their bloody system that they designed and continually changed forever, and they will continually change it forever, why don't we just stand up and say, stick your bloody paper where it's useful, and our law is within us. We know what the law is. Over.
You there, Sav, or did you freeze?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay.
Just contemplating it.
I thought for a second you froze up.
No. I hate when that happens, though. Thanks for looking out. Your eyes peeled. It's Fat Lady has not sung yet, because that can happen. Holy shit. Holy crap. I was playing with Moonshadow. I got to see that mark. Do you see that mark?
Out to get you.
Oh my God. She's got sharp teeth, boy. She gets rough with me. I'm like, you can't. She jumps up on my bed after when I start get dressed, and she jumps up on my bed and thinks, okay, this is it. I'm going to attack Daddy. And what I do usually is I wrestle her down and then rub her belly, and she just loves that, right? And she got my wrist in her mouth, and when I jerked a little bit like that, it like rubbed against her tooth, and I was like, shit, she's something, boy. I'll tell you what. Well, my other German Shepherds, they're not rough like that, but she is just a wild child, man. Holy crap. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'll have to see about that. I guess it was my granddaughter's birthday too, here just recently, and my wife made a really nice little coat and hat, really quite darling, and they sent a picture, her wearing it, so it's pretty cool. I got to get up there, go to Michigan and visit one of these days after the weather clears, I guess. Maybe once we start drill baby drilling. Now, that's something I heard about it. Okay, now listen. The thing is one of the reasons for him changing it to the Gulf of America is because Biden passed some bullshit that said that it was specifically barred to drill for oil in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh.
So they got around that by changing the fucking name.
Interesting. That's what they do, though.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Game of words and loopholes.
It's kind of slick. I wanted to show you a couple of things about the Firmament too. This is let me see, where was that one? I had it pulled up. I got a lot of really cool shit. Boom, boom, boom. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. Where the hell is it? Come on. There it is. Bam. All right. Let's see. I got to expand that. And I think I can close the caption. All right. Let me see what I got here. Now I'll show you this video this guy did with this rocket on ice. Under the ice. It's pretty cool. I'll show it to you. You'll see.
So you still think you're living on a globe and there isn't an impenetrable barrier above your head? That's cute. That's cute. But I'm here to tell you it's time to grow up, Peter Pan. Today I want to give you some pretty good evidence that there is a dome above your head And I want to talk to you about a little something called Operation Fishbowl that was done by your United States government. You see, in 1962, the United States government was sending up high-altitude nuclear tests. Well,
see this here where it says Operation Dominic? Dominic means of the Lord.
Yes.
This
And
together is Fishbowl of the Lord.
that's right.
Well, I don't really believe in nuclear, but they were sending up powerful missiles. And supposedly, they were testing out what these missiles would do to the atmosphere. But I know what they were really doing. They were testing the strength of the dome above us. And it's funny that they call it Operation Fishbowl. Why would that be? Why would that be? And another name for it? Operation Dominic? Well, do you know what Dominic means? Dominic literally translates to lordly or belonging to God. So they were sending up missiles to test the strength of God's firmament. Now, if you go and research Operation Fishbowl on your own, you can pull up this exact footage that I got that I want to show you compared to a slow motion bullet. So I want you to watch these two. Operation Fishbowl on the left, slow motion bullet on the right. Now this just isn't exploding in the middle of the atmosphere. This is clearly hitting something, just like this bullet is clearly hitting something. And if this isn't enough evidence for you, I'm going to continue to show you that there's barrier and there's water above. Literally on page 1 of the Bible, it says, "And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Now, what could that be? Oceans below us. How is this firmament dividing us from waters unless there's waters above? I love providing things that you can go research yourself. This is a SpaceX rocket. You can go find this yourself. And it went up and up and up and up and up. And it finally zoomed way in, and you can see that it looks like it's scraping against something. How would this happen if it just happens to be 60 miles up going to space? It literally looks like it's scraping against something and maybe hitting some sort of water barrier. Because I think there's frozen oxygen up there that would potentially have some water vapors. And then there's the dome, and then there's more water above. I've shown this in some other videos, but this is called the lunar wave. Again, you can go research this yourself. This is a real thing that occurs. It's been captured dozens and dozens of times. Does that look like anything but water to you? It's not gas. It's not the camera. There's fluid above the dome. And I love to use this video too because it's a proof of so many things. 1, stars aren't what you think. 2, they're in water. 3, they're much closer. And 4, there's dogs in there. But that's a story for another video. So again, if you still think you're living on this instead of this, with an impenetrable dome above your head, time to grow up, Peter Pan.
What do you think?
I don't know what to make of that guy yet. I mean, not that he's not putting out good information and that type of thing. Like, I think he's okay, but he's too TikTok-y for me.
Yeah, that's the same thing here.
He kind of reminds me of Caleb, just an older version of Caleb.
Yes. Whatever happened to Caleb? I haven't seen Caleb shit.
I've heard his name run around. I don't do Discord or any of that type of stuff, but I've heard his name run around and that type of thing.
Yeah.
I was going to bring.
I think the analogy, if he could compare it to a bullet hitting water with a solid surface and compare it to those videos, I bet you it would match up perfect.
Watch this.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. What?
We used to do that, shoot a bottle rocket under ice.
Yeah.
That is insane.
I guess that was on top there.
Upset technology is surpassing the lie. Wouldn't you say so?
What's that?
That technology is surpassing the lie now.
Yes.
It's just mashing them.
Well, and it's almost it's like we're not as hypnotizable.
Right.
You know, and I think it's because we're getting into new vibrations.
Yeah.
I really do.
I was thinking about this. You know, if a person gets locked down, about loses their job, or has to make critical decisions on finance and the next move and has to persevere, I think that critical state of mind, when you say solve it, it kind of bleeds over in other topics. Because if you have to critically think to survive now, because of all the stuff they put us through, I think they're forcing us to wake up too, you know, in some sense.
Yeah.
Can you say?
For sure. Yes. A lot of people, you know, flatten the curve. They didn't realize what that really meant.
Yeah.
These people stayed home and they started getting access to a lot of these flat earth content.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, what? And people started looking up.
That's right.
Started noticing the spraying as in what's come to be known as chemtrails and whatnot. And this is pretty crazy. There was somebody called. They saw a plane that was dumping chemtrail. And they went on FlightAware, was able to see what the plane is. Anyway, got a hold of the pilot and talked to him. This is crazy. Check this out. I gotta stop that one, and I got this one. There we go.
That's what gets me. I live close to a small airport, and it's like, who in their right mind would have like commercial flight, and then you got all these other flights going crisscross patterns all over the freaking sky? Like, what control tower is allowing that to happen?
Right.
A video of a Californian woman confronting a pilot after he landed at 1:30 a.m. has just gone viral.
They're tired of you dumping heavy metals all over our county.
Well, I'm not the one to talk to about that.
No, but you are. But you're the one that's doing it. So
For the last several years, she's tracked these flights over Tulum County, collected over 20 rainwater samples, and filed public records requests revealing hazardously elevated levels of aluminum, barium, strontium, titanium, and magnesium, the very materials they use in their trails, as confirmed by air sample analysis collected up in the sky within the trails themselves.
At great effort and expense, we acquired a National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration flying lab with top scientists in it, took samples at altitude behind heavy aircraft. We sampled what they were emitting. The sample was processed at one of the top testing institutions in the world. We found exactly what we knew we would find.
Fast forward to this week when she claims to have had enough. Using Flight Radar 24, she tracked a Beech C-90 King Air conducting repeated seeding flights over Sonora. She drove to the Modesto Jet Center to confront the pilots directly.
904 decay. That's who that is. He can go himself. At some point, I will get down to the airport. So this is the Modesto Jet Center, okay? Oh my God, that's them. Look at them in the building. They let me in. You're Tim, right?
I'm one of the other captains.
Oh, great. We've been trying to reach you for a long time, and we are tired of you dumping heavy metals all over our county.
Well, I'm not the one to talk to about that.
No, but you are. But you're the one that's doing it. So I've been taking rain samples. I have over 20 samples. And every time you fly, we get high amounts of aluminum, barium, strontium, titanium, magnesium.
You can talk to them.
I've tried.
About that,
I've called them, and they're not calling me back. So we're now going to bring something legal against your company. We are real people underneath what you're doing. You spray right over our houses now. You did 2 flights, 2 3-hour flights.
It's public knowledge.
It's not really though. That's the problem. We've been doing this for 30 years. They are now selling aluminum, genetically modified seeds to grow food because our soil is so contaminated. There's an early onset dementia. There's Alzheimer's. Things are starting to happen to people's health.
That's not my department.
I know the goal.
Did you drive here today?
Yes, we did.
You're contributing to the pollution in the environment as well.
No, what is your name again?
It's none of your business.
It is my business because you're over my head dumping over our families
We're not
and our
doing
houses.
anything illegal, so
It's not illegal yet. You are contributing to dumping heavy metals on our soils and in our air. We're breathing it, we're drinking it, we're eating it. It matters to me.
I understand that. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying
It does matter.
I'm not the one for you to bring these.
I mean, what the fuck? Oh, it's not my department. You're the one doing it.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's the game they play. It's always like, go to this
A video
person,
of a
and they
Californian-
go to that person.
Yeah.
Compartmentalized.
Keep you in a loop. Well, even, I mean, look, CIA head director John Brennan is on record saying that they were cloud seeding. It's like running experiments. And that crap ticks me off so bad because I garden. And last year I had the worst season of gardening I've ever had. And I didn't do anything different than before. But the one thing I did notice is that there was more chemtrails this past year. And it's just, I don't know.
Last year was the hardest year to start any kind of plant, period.
It seemed like it.
It was really, really difficult.
Yeah, it seemed like it was definitely different than
Dreamy.
past years.
Dreamy Lynn's here. All right, Dreamy, are you home yet?
Dreamy.
Hopefully you're home.
Hey, Saab, I want to give a special shout out to the chat. You got almost 200 people in the chat, and everybody out there, give us a thumbs up.
Wow.
Give Saab a thumbs up. Y'all share this with your friends. He gets on, he talks about good topics and stuff that we need to talk about, plus interesting different types of topics. And if you got any kind of topics you want to bring to the forefront, stick them in the chat, and we'll see if Saab can check them out and get,
Yeah, be sure if you tag my name in there, I'm more liable to see them over here on this side.
Awesome.
Or come
over
up
on Rumble, let me welcome Pure Pressure KS is here, as well as Leo Slayer and De Murphy. And yes, hit that like, share, subscribe, get it out there. The more people we can brainwash to think for themselves. But that's the thing. You got to be careful. All this information that we're given,
right?
Is it really information? Holy crap! Look at there.
Yeah.
Where's the
So I
corner?
did up on my that's out of my garden.
Wow.
These are a couple pictures. And yeah. No, this is basically some of those 2020 visions right here. These people wear a mask or go to jail.
Did y'all know the same people that controlled this last narrative was Senior Gates and Johns Hopkins School of Medicine? None other. During the swine flu epidemic. Isn't that
No way. Is that the one? That dumb kid.
Yeah. Johns Hopkins and Senior Gates.
Where is Dreamy? There she
Yes.
is.
I get ready
And
to do
Senior
my
Gates
gardening.
during the.
All right, cool.
I'm trying to say
I'm
things
with
in
them.
code.
So this is from my lunch break. This is he's on X. He's everywhere. If you're not subscribed to him, you should. He's got some pretty good content, and wanted to show this.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
What are you guys learning about?
No way.
Hey,
Not even close.
I know, terrible. Hey, I just want to drop in really quickly.
Awesome.
I was thinking, why don't you do like a regular Mandela effect stream, Sov? Like maybe on a Friday or Saturday night, something like that.
I'm not one of those people that like schedules a whole lot.
Oh, okay. Well, randomly then. Randomly.
I just, I don't know. I've thought about doing that, and I'm like, and then it just kind of fleets out. But I don't know. Maybe I'll sit down and play with an idea to do that. Various topics for each week or whatever, or each day or whatever that I do. But then I don't want to get tied into having to do it all the time either.
Right.
So just a thought. All right.
Well, I can't help but wonder what's going on with that Mandela effect, because I know that there are a lot of things that I know were a certain way, and they say that it wasn't, and I'm like, no, I know better. I got too many anchor memories to the things,
That's right.
The cornucopia on the Fruit of the Loom, for instance, that's where I learned that word.
Yes.
Because I asked my mother what that was. She was like, I asked her, I said, what's that weird little basket for? Because I was like, it doesn't look very functional to me, the way it was shaped. And she goes, it's called a cornucopia. And they also call it a horn of plenty. And I went, cornucopia.
That's what I remember.
I thought it was a cool sounding word, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can still remember it. Everything about that incident. I really can. Pretty crazy.
There are a bunch of nuances to that certain topic that are pretty intriguing when you get into the nuts and bolts.
Now, let me ask you, have you guys looked into this old architecture and these buildings and shit very much?
I have.
Only recently.
You know, there's this common theme where they always burn.
Oh yeah.
They're either always burned down and have to be replaced, or they're just demolished.
And all within 1 to 2 years.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And nobody ever dies, or very few people die.
Yeah, it's very low casualty amounts.
I always thought that stone just didn't burn.
Well, now in the defense of that, the entire thing isn't made out of stone.
Right.
I mean, like when you go in like some of these old palaces, there's like the one at Bad Homburg, beautiful place, but inside there's a lot of wood furnishings, and you got to figure between the floors there's timbers that run through these holes in the wall, big thick oak timbers that they put the flooring down on and that kind of thing, so they can have the multiple levels. If you go into some of these castle ruins, these castle and palace ruins, you'll see those holes. You can tell where each floor was at, before whatever happened, whether the wood was removed or whether it burned out of there or whatever else. And a lot of times the roof either scavenged or burns, because it's wood. But some of these other places, they're completely all stone, and I can't understand how in the hell they burned down. But anyway, this is from my lunch break. We'll take a look at this for a minute.
In 1978, it too was destroyed by fire. It's now has been one of the great regional theaters of the world. The old Globe Theater was built in 1935 for the California Pacific International Expo and quickly became a popular San Diego landmark. That arson fire in 1978 took the building, but not the fighting spirit of those who loved what it meant for our city.
World War I was in 1914. This exposition was in 1915. People were not concentrating on the narrative and all of its lies. And even if they were, how were they going to tell thousands of people about it? It just wasn't possible. So what happened to this building? Well, the people of San Diego were at a crossroads. They were in a bind with what to do with such a pathetic, temporary building, because we're always told that these buildings were just temporary, right? But
that's what I'm saying. Look at that. We're only going to have this for a couple of months, or I think, what did we see? The World's Fair went for what, 8 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Come on, Sav. It's just stucco, bro.
Yeah, sure it is.
It's cardboard.
Yeah, cardboard.
And the thing is in these things where they're showing like that they're just building the thing, right? Supposedly. And you can see weathering on the stonework.
Such a conspiracy theorist.
I know
it probably took them longer to tear it down than they say to build it.
yeah, exactly.
Wasn't one of the World's Fair like Montreal? I want to say like futuristic. I can't remember which one it was, but one of them was.
You sent that. Didn't you say you sent a link? Didn't you? With all the World's Fairs or something?
No, that was the Star Force. Here, I'll put it in the chat again.
And
put it in the private. Put it back here in the private chat.
All right, I'll be right back then.
If anybody goes into Google to look up these cathedrals, I want you to know something. They do not give quality photos now. So I've got so many screenshots, and then in comparison to people that are actually there, that are posting on their pages and stuff, that's where you get the good photos from, like the 4K images, because on Google, these structures, Sav, are so hyper detailed. When you see them in clear, they will blow your mind. Like you said the other night, it looks like God lives there.
Yeah, I ran across that shit when I was in Europe, and it was just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
Completely mind blowing to me.
It is just like intricate. I can't even.
Last forever if they just left them alone. With incredible architecture, what would they possibly use it for? Well, 1 year after the exposition in 1916, They built this building, and now what? The military needed the space, so the building got to stick around, where they used it as a barracks and a post office. And what do you know? This building was also damaged. The money was, of course, not enough to fix it, so it continued to deteriorate. I wonder what a lot of these wars are actually used for. They wouldn't be an operation to destroy the old world, would they? Remember when we were told that they stopped allowing the public into the California Tower in 1935? Well, the mainstream history just can't put their finger on why the Farm Bureau discontinued the use of Balboa Park for its county fair in 1931, just 4 years before the public was no longer allowed to go inside these buildings. Well, I would say that we know exactly why they didn't want to hold any county fairs here anymore at Balboa Park. And this wouldn't be an operation without a second exposition at the exact same location of Balboa Park. This one being held at the exact same year of 1935. It's incredible. Clearly, they have found something major that went against their narrative, and they needed to run it back a second time. So in 1914, we get World War I. 1 year later, 1915, we get Balboa Park Exposition number 1. 1935, we get Balboa Park Exposition number 2. 1 year later, 1936, we get World War II, where they now have yet another name for this building, Building 212, used now by Red Cross, while the Navy yet again modified the interior. Are you still on the fence? Well, there wouldn't be another. No way. This is so clear at this point. The San Diego Aerospace Museum moved into the building briefly in September 1961 before transferring its exhibits across the street to the Electric Building in 1963, where they stayed until a fire in 1978 destroyed the building. Now, I have a lot to share, and I think we have a solid understanding at this point.
Arson again, but they don't. Did they ever catch a freaking arsonist?
Yeah.
You know, they never do. You never hear, oh, and the guy that was caught or nothing else like that. It's just, oh, it was arson. Damn, again.
Get up, Rock, because Mickey loves you.
Yeah.
And it's always fire.
That the narrative surrounding Balboa Park has consistencies with what we've seen across the world.
An inspiring story, the history of this building you see behind me, which was a gathering place, a popular one for people, and then it burned to the ground. But like we're seeing now in Paris, the community came together to save it. In 1978, it too was destroyed by fire. It's now has been one of the great regional theaters of the world. The old Globe Theater was built in 1935 for the California Pacific International Expo and quickly became a popular San Diego landmark. That arson fire in 1978 took the building, but not the fighting spirit of those who loved what it meant for our city. It's build it again.
Too many beautiful cities. I've seen those cities. They're so beautiful, and they, I don't know how you can ever rebuild them the way they were. It's not possible. I don't know how you can ever rebuild them the way they were. It's not possible. It's not possible.
The narrative holds multiple fire stories. There are so many destroyed buildings within such a short time frame. The same years, basically. It is incredible when you know what to look for. So it's time to go to the east coast of the USA, Buffalo, New York, where we will find the Dennis Building, and yet another building that holds multiple names. The Dennis Building, the Glennie Store or Crockery Store, the Glennie Building, and the Stanton Building, and yet another building that, of course, holds a fire story in 1905. And not only that, but we also get the reoccurring names. Yes, it is possible for him and his sons to have the exact same name. But when we have seen this in so many narratives about these old world buildings, where both brothers marry somebody named Alice, and their mom is also Alice, and their dog, and their cat, and their hamster that they found at Alice Pet Store. And the building is also named Alice. And this has happened hundreds of times, where the AI is generating these names over and
he was kidding, of course, when he got to the, the cat and the hamster and shit like that. But that's about as ridiculous as it is too. Look at this old fire. Is that a fire engine back here in the background? Yeah, I guess that's what that
like
is.
some kind of steam powered thing.
And over. And then it becomes so clear that these mainstream narratives surrounding these buildings are AI generated, and they are produced on a mass scale, which is why so many names are reoccurring. The fire story is in nearly every single one of them, and on and on. It also shows how these narratives could be completed so fast, and this really wouldn't be that difficult to produce in such a short time frame. You just throw in the parameters that they want covered in the narrative, and the ChatGPT can do it in 2 seconds. We all know here that the ChatGPT didn't just come out. It's not brand new. We know this. It's been here before for a very long time, and the hidden group has had it. We have shown this in previous episodes, and it's definitely something to point out and keep in mind for the future, because we have William H. Glennie, where he has a son with the same name, William H. Glennie. And like I said, it wouldn't be weird, but we have seen this so many times. Now, we are told that modernization of the ground floor has destroyed any identifying plaques, and it is not known if the building was the product of a local manufacturer. So, right here in the narrative, they are admitting that they have no idea who built this place, and they are also admitting that our civilization had destroyed the plaques. That
wouldn't there be like fucking records, like at the county courthouse, or you know, at the building and zoning commission, or
they got burned up?
Surely there would have to be fucking blueprints of it or something. Would you know, you would be able to find it. They don't know because they had to go by whatever placard was left on the fucking building. That's who built it. That's ridiculous.
Once said who constructed the building. This is incredible. So we get a very detailed construction story here. Oh, wait. No, we don't. We also get a construction team that's been shaved off the side of the building and a history that tells us that it was built in 1873. Does this mean 12 months and it's done with zero details? But we are supposed to just trust it, right? And we also get the fire story in 1905. Are you seeing the lies very clearly now? So for the bonus today, we're going to stay in New York and go even deeper into this and just hammer it home. For anyone that's on the fence, I think this will help you get over. Our Lady of Victory Basilica, located in Lackawanna, New York, where the narrative begins with zero waiting around, with them just handing us the nod right now. Where in 1916, a fire seriously damaged St. Patrick's Parish Church in Lackawanna, New York. And they tell us that Father Baker just needed to replace that one. The one that has zero documented evidence that it was ever even here. So in 1921, they knocked down a building that has no proof that it was ever even there. And 4 years later, this one that we see today is just there forever. It's very simple stuff 100 years ago.
Get the out of here. 4 years. You couldn't even paint that damn thing in 4 years. Look at that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Come on.
So we get the fire nod again. And in 1941, we of course get another destruction story where a violent lightning storm causes significant damage to the new building's Twin Towers. More Twin Tower stories in New York. So they had to destroy that part of the building and use the powerful lightning of 1941 as an excuse. But of course, after 1941, they never had to worry about the lightning ever again, which is normal and acceptable.
Because they got lightning insurance.
No. And I'm going to show you again that this building is from the old world. And they destroy it with these refurbished projects, restoration and the rest. Like we have talked about a lot today. They say that Baker died and Joseph takes over. The first thing that Joseph wants to do is take charge of a refurbished project where he has the marble towers replaced. What in the world is he doing taking marble towers off of this building? That is completely backwards. You would not take marble towers off of anything. You would put marble towers on a building if you could. This is a clear operation to diminish the work of the old world and replace it with copper. And what do you know? The copper that he put on there turns green and needs to be replaced with a new one? I love asking this because it really proves the point that these buildings are from the old world and these narratives are ridiculous. But do any of our towns, anywhere in the world, have any upcoming plans? Or ever in your life, have they ever had any plans to knock one of these out or anything close to it in just 4 years? My town did come close when they built a Dunkin' Donuts a few years ago. And let me tell you, it was a Dunkin' Donuts built by the gods of the 21st century. It is perfect. The detail in the stonework is incredible. The architecture, it's just perfect. And it only took them 5 years to plan it out and get the whole thing done. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'll be back very soon.
5 years build something like that, and
America runs on Dunkin'.
Yeah, right. God, I mean, it's
That's
just
crazy.
incredible to me that people.
A while back ago, I watched this thing where they were building that new stadium where the Rams and the Chargers play or whatever, and they had to, like, it was like one of them extreme build shows or whatever, but they're putting up the Jumbotron in the middle of the thing, and this thing is nowhere close to anything of what these structures would have weighed, and they could only move it like inch by inch, second by second, you know, to get this thing up in the air with cranes and everything. It's like there ain't no freaking way they could do any of this stuff now.
No. There's
I put that link in the chat, in the back chat too.
That's to the Star Force. I thought you had one to the World's Fairs.
No, I can book,
okay.
but no.
Yeah, because I already have that. I bookmarked that.
Oh, okay.
All right. No, thanks though.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think, listen, this is some good shit. That there's something happened, like around, I don't know, mid 1700s is when this shit started to happen. Like I say, there, I don't know, man. It seems that like by the early 1800s, they were already trying to sow this narrative, this new narrative. It's really weird, you know. And I think, you know, and then we start seeing this expansion west, and I'm trying to figure, where the fuck did all the people come from? You know, I mean, let's just assume that some people immigrate here from Europe and whatnot, here to this United States. There's still only a certain amount of fucking people in the world. So that means if people leave one place, that diminishes the population there in lieu of them going to another place. But it's almost like, well, their population just remained the same, and this one over here just started coming over. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then you start having this land grab going west. All of a sudden, you've got so many fucking people that you can send them west, let them just claim land. This doesn't make, and that's what I wonder, if a lot of this founding was when somebody got claimed land. You know what I'm saying? From these land claims.
Yeah.
There's thought. What's happening in thought?
Going on with y'all, man? I just came in and saw you was live. Looked like you was talking about the old world again.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we was just on some thoughts about that you know, there's just so much that doesn't work. It doesn't add up. You know, I was just a minute ago, I said, you know, what if, you remember how they had these people, they could run, they had these land grabs, right? And these, where people could get these claim land. And I'm just wondering, you know, if a lot of these things, they didn't just be found by somebody, you know, and they say, yeah, this is where I claimed my land and I founded this building here and shit, you know. And it's like, how did we get so many people all of a sudden to be able to do that? Like, if you take people from Europe are coming over here to the newfound United States, that means that there's people have gone from this other population, but it seems like their population didn't suffer any from people migrating over to the United States. And so all of a sudden we've got all these people here in the United States, and we're spreading them out west and everything, supposedly. Now, that's the story we're given. But was it really that? I don't know. All I can go by is dusty books that old men wrote for me.
We know that the immigration thing has always been a thing, though, where it's like a tool where they'll use, once they start laying a foundation in the area, then they'll bring in immigrants from other places that are doing bad and give them like cheap property and jobs and stuff like that. Like that's just, it's been a tactic they've been using for like,
you
know, years and years. So,
well, I think that there was already a bunch of people here.
Right.
You know, I mean, prior to whenever this reset thing happened, you know, and I think that with whatever survived was kind of a cleanup going on, maybe in the early to mid 1700s and then on up to the 1800s with this population of a new society upon, you know, what was already here at one time. By that time, the collective memory of it is gone. You know, you've already indoctrinated people into a new way of thinking, you know?
Yeah, I stuck the World's Fair list back there now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, let's see.
Now, for these people who clean up this rubble from the old world, and as they like repopulate and take over these cities and claim they build them, like they know that these buildings have been here, right? So maybe they have, you know, like some type of knowledge or whatever of what happened in the past. I don't know. I just be thinking, because sometimes I see the pictures and you see like people cleaning up, and it's like I wonder what they think about the areas that they cleaning up, you know.
Right. Or do they think anything at all? Are they allowed to think anything at all? I mean, what happened to those people that did the cleaning up, you know? Were they some of the ones that after they were done with it, they put them in the insane asylum? Or were they even maybe prisoners, like the prisoners they claim are those that they had to do the labor on these places? I mean, we know that most convicts, let's face it, most people that would be in prison, especially at that time, would probably be more adept at cleanup than they would at stonemasonry, carpentry, and building, right? So, you know, when they claim that it was, you know, built by slave labor, you know, by inmate labor, you know, prisoners, that may be what they had them doing. You know, only they didn't build it, they just cleaned it out, repainted it.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the stories about what, you know, they stuck those people in the psychiatric homes that they had built.
People that didn't want to go along with the new narrative. Yeah. Now, I think it's interesting, too, because it's something about Napoleon as well. We see that what was it out by that list you sent? We had the first World Fair pre-1900 was in London in 1851.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this is after, of course, the Napoleonic crap went down. But you know, remember, like when they wanted to show that somebody was crazy back in the day, it was often they'd have them dressed like Napoleon,
mm-hmm.
to symbolize that they were crazy and shit. I wonder why that was used. You know, is it something about those Napoleonic wars or those wars that took place during that period of time?
Yeah, it's kind of the same way they, you know, when they want to demonize people, they call them Yahtzees.
Yeah. But still, there's a lot of speculation if Napoleon Bonaparte actually even really existed, or whether he's just a character that's placed within this timeline.
Right.
You know, you have to wonder. This is pretty cool because this kind of goes over the
history,
what we were just talking about, that in the last 300 years or so, there's been some fuckery afoot, and I love this channel. Again, another place I want to go here soon. I'll probably see if I can get Vlad to go with me too, because he's really not that far from me, is to go over to Charlottesville to go to Monticello. and get some really good video and shit of Monticello and the grounds around there. Boy, Thomas Jefferson's home. What an astonishing place. It is really something, man. He supposedly designed it himself and everything. It's done in like an octagon. Really weird, man. You know, he slept in the wall. His bed was actually made in the wall between his library and his bedroom, because sometimes he would wake up in the middle of the night and have some kind of an idea and want to go look at some shit in his library, and he could just roll out of bed and be there. Pretty wild shit, man. So I want to see if I get Vlad to go out there with me and shit and get some good video of the place. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Anyway.
It's time to investigate even further. I have located George Street and all of his supposed projects. And remember, in the 1800s, he was doing projects that we cannot recreate today. In just 1 year, George Street was supposedly born in 1824. How old do you think he was when he was completing his first building? 35 would be shocking. 30 is insane. We are told that George Street got to work and built the St. Mary's Church in 1848, making Street just 24 years old. And if you go onto this church's website, they say he was 22, where his sister, an embroiderer, heard of a Cornish clergyman and needed a new church built. Who better to ask than a 22 or 24-year-old clerk? His sister, Mary, prevailed to give her inexperienced brother the commission for his brand new church. The rest, as they say, is his story. So obviously this is ridiculous. And we need to keep digging because, are they really going to keep doing this today? What was his sister's name again? And what is the church's name? Both named Mary? Okay, I think at this point we can be sure that they won't do it again, right? No way. George Street, his name is George. What is the guy's name that is building the building that hired George Street? They're not going to tell us that this guy's name is also George. If they say that his name is George, then I don't know what I'm going to do, but what is Reverend Prine's name? You know, the Cornish clergyman who intended to build the new Street Mary Church, where George's sister Mary went and asked George Prine. I knew it was the AI before. I don't get shocked at things very often. Now listen, that is something else too that he's really brought to a lot of attention, is there is a bunch of this shit. The reuse of names just within a couple of paragraphs, you know, the associations, the names and everything. And it's too freaking much.
Yeah, that, and the guys are like nowhere close to where it's being built. Like they come from either a different country or you know, way off in a different place, part of the world.
It's amazing to me.
This one is just so in your face. It's incredible. The good old Cornish clergyman giving away work in Cornwall. Amazing. I think we can do a few episodes on this first George Street, and probably a few episodes on the second George and all the Marys. Let me know if you want me to dig more into their narrative. So George Street, the first George, the 22 or 24-year-old master builder. Remember, he was constructing this 1,000-room courthouse in London for 7 years because he was kicked out of the script a year before it got done in 1882. And remember, from our last episode, episode 52, this is the exact same time period where you have all this chaos going on around the world. Nobody is focused on these narratives. You
got all these damn orphans now too, right? Yeah. Here we go.
You have all these millions of orphans all over the USA. You have the Civil War going on. You have slavery. You have all these insane high-intensity type events going on all over the place. People were not looking into George Street and the hundreds of buildings that they were pinning on this character. In fact, even if they wanted to, it wasn't written in a book yet. And they didn't have the resources to prove anything. So they just had to simply believe it. And everyone accepted it as the truth until now. 1873 to 1881, George Street is pinned as the man in charge of the Royal Courts of Justice for those 8 years. I would love to know if he was fully focused on this project one that we could never reproduce today in 8 years. And we have shown the Kleksinski building in Chicago, where it is a basic box that took our civilization 14 years to build.
14 years to make that saltine cracker box.
That's crazy.
As opposed to, 2 years, 3 years for that other shit. What the fuck am I?
1960 to 1974. Or was George so good at his job that he could also get multiple other projects done at the exact same time? 1873 to 1881. George has been pinned and said to have had 42 other projects going on at the exact same time. Still.
Get the... What?
These guys must have had thought like, yeah, man, they must have had figured eventually we would catch on, but that it was going to last a minute. And it did, though, But now, like with the AI and the internet and everything, man, we unlocking shit. That's crazy stuff, man. Yeah. It's crazy that somebody even found this, like, was able to put all this together like that.
Not even any major construction corporation right now has that many big projects like that going on at the same time.
That was the other thing. Yeah, that was the other thing I forgot about is how many different projects they had going on all at once.
That's nuts, man.
Believing the mainstream narrative? They tell us that the Linenwold Castle, located in Ambler, Pennsylvania, was designed by Milton Bean and built in 1890 without any details on its construction. It's just done in 1890, where Madison lived in the castle with his second wife, Mary, where after Madison died, the new people turned this palace into an orphanage called St. Mary's. Mary. So we have a massive castle done in 1 year or less. And for decades, that's all we needed to hear for it to be true until now, where we understand that logically that is impossible, especially 134 years ago. And especially when it's a castle straight out of the old world civilization's home improvement catalog. Here on househistree.com, in the middle of this story that has zero logistical details or anything relevant to actually building anything, and just has a bunch of nonsense, like naming sons royal, retired business partners, and telling us how many rooms are in this castle that they found. They do give us a tip, and the tip is the Windsor Castle. The sentence reads that Madison might have chose to model his castle after the Windsor Castle, which is the most popular answer. And it's the most popular answer among which group? Because that is definitely not the most popular answer to us, but they think it might be modeled after another castle nearby, and they all dispute it for years and years. And remember, it's all nonsense. We have no idea who this group is that they tell us that this is the most popular thought. What I see in all of this is one thing, the Windsor Castle. And I want to see what year they say this Windsor Castle was built in, because I bet you it is connected to this castle. And this castle in Pennsylvania might have actually been built hundreds of years ago, if not thousands. And they will give it all away with this Windsor Castle connection. Located in Berkshire, Windsor. Built in 1070, over 954 years ago as a fortress, and covers 484,000 square feet of living space, divided into about 1,000 rooms. So something is extremely clear here. We are 100% being lied to about our history, and we all know that. But I have to say it out loud, because 1,000 years ago, they are building 1,000 room fortresses with ease. And it, of course, lasts forever. No questions asked. And today we have evolved so much that we can't build a sidewalk without stepping in it before it dries. Now, this is my opinion, but I can see them adding this Windsor Castle into the narrative for a specific reason. And I personally think it's to connect the dates, that these castles are from nearly 1,000 years ago, when the previous civilization that had all the technology, had proper training, and had the logistics down. Instead of the opposite happening, where we are told that there were no classes in castle building at the local community college in the year 1070, where they would go home to their sheds and sleep with candlelight, freezing using barn hay as beds, and then waking up again traveling by horse and wagon to pull stone and granite miles on a trail and getting this 1,000 room fortress done no problem. The timeline is clearly all over the place at this point. They could have told us that it was built in the year 1045. It would have made no difference. And people would have just believed it until you start digging deeper, which we are doing here. Episode 41 is awesome at showing the proper logistics of a project, if you're interested in that after this. The castle has, of course, 300 fireplaces and 379 clocks. Do any of our towns have any upcoming plans to knock a 1,000 room, 300 fireplace fortress out in the next few years? What about half that? No? With our modern construction, 1,000 years after they did this, we should be able to do this with ease, since they did, without a power tool in sight. Supposedly, we have a better education system, so we are told. We have more knowledge than ever, supposedly. What is wrong with this picture? I would say a lot. Do you understand that something is wrong with the timeline? Something massive? Can we all see the lie very clearly now? We have been lied to about all of this, starting around the year 1800. Possibly right before that, where everything in our timeline began. And the old world buildings from the previous civilization are still here for us to see in every city, with insane narratives to try to fit them into this lie, where we are told that people from 1,000 years ago were less than us, worse off. And we are told that we have all this brand new technology in the last 200 years. Everything is brand new. Every company was created recently all over the world. Is that not strange to you? And we're told this new technology has never been here before. Planes, trains, cars, phones, computers, internet, and the AI, when it has. And in my opinion, it's been here many, many times before, and so have we.
A great channel. You can find him on about every platform that there is out there right now. I just started watching some of his stuff. I've been into this for, a while back, and it kind of, still looked at some stuff on it and everything. And like I said, I think, trying to figure out what the hell is going on, but then tie it into an actual narrative. And I think that
somebody talking or something.
I don't know what that is.
I think it's thought.
Yeah, it might be.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. But I think that, like, if we, so to go by biblically, we have this misconception of time, of how long ago something actually was. And we know that they've lied to us about our time. Our time is not the correct dates. We don't have the correct timeline. And so we automatically assume through literature, through movies, and artwork, that these events that are spoken of happened a certain number of years ago, or within a certain timeline, like way back when people were wearing sandals and cloaks and this, that, and the other. Well, we only get that because this is what we've been given. This is what we've been told. But was that reality? Were these buildings like pre-flood? And that's why they're like half buried still, from the sediment and from the landslides that have inevitably would have taken place, from it being underwater for a period of time. So, they do look. I mean, we have no problem realizing that there's no way that we have the capability of making those things today. So we have to be relegated to the idea that someone else did that, because you don't just lose that knowledge, you progress upon knowledge, right? So the standard way things would go is you've got people out there that they know how to make these blocks, how to set these blocks, how to carve this ornate shit and everything, right? And then along comes more efficient ways to be able to do it. Power tools, steam tools, what have you. Something that makes it even easier for you to be able to build this thing. And then as you're going along, you would see that the techniques of doing it may change, but the style would never have any need to change. The ornateness would never, and the strength would never have any need to change. We would just find easier ways to do it, to complete the same task. That's what we've done so far, is even in our power tool industry, we've actually got better power tools now than we did in the past. Because we found more efficient ways to have the bits work and materials for the different operations, you know, alloyed steels and things like that for blades, so that the sharpness lasts longer.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It doesn't make any sense. All of a sudden, people just stop doing that. Nobody knows how to fucking do it. We just start putting up stick shit, you know, like that. What's that game where the kids all play with everything's all square and shit? Minecraft.
Then what's crazy is too, like, so I was doing some research on those world fairs, and some of the stuff that they were sharing at those world fairs were people like handcrafting and stuff like that in like the 1800s and 1700s, even in the 1900s. A lot of people don't know that they had like a futuristic type of world fair. It was based on the future, and they actually presented the first robot. It was a man and a dog, and but the world fairs, they was always like, that's why I'm like curious about Trump talking about this world fair. Like, what are they actually going to present at this world fair? Because it's always supposed to be something really big.
Yeah,
whatever's going on in that time.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of curious. And we also were coming up on, he was talking about, because we have the 250th anniversary of the United States. It's going to be in 2026. It's going to be what, the 150th or 250th anniversary of the United States and the signing of the Declaration of Independence and all that good shit. So I don't know, are they going to go ape shit like they did back in 76? I'm not seeing any evidence of it so far. I can't guarantee you, halfway into 1975, everything, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing bicentennials coming, you know. And hey, oh my God, 1976 we had bicentennial quarters, bicentennial glasses, the bicentennial moment on TV between television programs and shit. It was.
He's gonna hype it all up. I mean, he's gonna hype it all up, and they're gonna, you know, make a big deal about it. But it'll be like when he came out with them golden shoes. It'll be something cheesy or something, you know. Like it won't live up to the expectation.
You guys see everybody's turning their back on Tesla, right? On Elon for that salute.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, here's what, and that's because people are fucking ignorant.
Yeah, that's
okay. That is a salute. It doesn't belong to anyone.
Other people have done the same thing. It's not
like American school children in the United States used to salute the flag just like this, exactly like that. That's how people did when they did the Pledge of Allegiance. It didn't specifically belong to a certain group of people who have been demonized. That's just a standard salute.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry. Can I just ask you a quick interject real quick? So with that, don't you think that he owes some type of responsibility though? It's like a head figure that maybe people on the mass level may get the wrong idea with him doing something like out of the ordinary, like why he couldn't have just done a regular salute or something like that. Why did he have to do something that would be so conflicting?
Was he
and
actually
that's all your interpretation. Yeah.
That's all within interpretation as well, you know. And even if he did, so what? This is the way I look at it. How is that? I mean, is there really anybody here? Is there really anybody even actually alive today that could even possibly be affected because one man does something that a certain group of people did at a certain period of time? I mean, no. I mean, has anybody ever been hurt by that?
Okay, so they get really hurt over the Hitler situation.
I know. It's because they've been fucking snowballed. They don't understand. They look at history from someone else's narrative. They don't look at it objectively. So what they do is they take the mainstream. He who wins the wars writes the history books. Okay. And without actually looking at it from a xenoscopic standpoint, you don't understand how the demonization of these people actually came about and why they were demonized so badly. It's not for what you think.
The law of reversal.
You know, it's basically, yeah, well, that's in there as well. When I look at the, you know, as far as the supposed incarceration, so to speak, of a certain segment of the population in Germany and various areas where the Germans annexed themselves. Now, I'm not defending anybody. Keep this in mind, but I also have to look at it objectively. Why was it that these people all of a sudden had to be identified? Could it be that a certain group of people who have no nation whatsoever, they have no country, but they align themselves in allegiance through an apartheid type situation, no matter where they go, suddenly says, well, we declare war upon Germany. Now, wouldn't that make anyone who is affiliated with that group a possible potential enemy of the state? Let's suppose that Catholics decided to declare war on England. Would that now make English Catholics subject to scrutiny because of the possibility? Because let's face it, Catholics are not a country, are they?
You talking about like Pearl Harbor and then how they turned on all the Japanese in America?
No. What I'm talking about is that when the mustache man took power, one of the first things he went against was things that were directly controlled by a certain segment of their population's mafia, so to speak, the Jewish mafia. And this included all this communist bullshit like transgender and the promotion of homosexuality, exploitation of children in literature. And I'll just leave it at that so you can figure out what I mean from that. Narcotics, gambling, all the things that were contributing to the degradation of the German society was controlled by the Jewish mafia. Even up to and including, he made the first anti-animal cruelty laws, which by definition put an end to kosher slaughter as well. So in retaliation, they coerced a headline that says that the Jews of the world, not saying that all of them were down for this, but by making the proclamation that Jews declare war on Germany, by actively seeking to boycott them economically, sabotage their industry, that kind of thing. This was openly talked about. This now made anybody that was Jewish in Germany subject to scrutiny. They had to be identified. You had to be known who you were. Would you be allowed to obtain a position of power? No, absolutely not. You guys have already made a declaration that you're going to try to fuck us up. So we got to keep our eyes on you. We did the same thing with the Japanese after Pearl Harbor. There's a camp that wasn't too far from where I lived in California called Manzanar. And I visited this place, and there were thousands of Japanese Americans that were interned in this concentration camp merely because they were of Japanese descent. So I think it's odd that everybody wants to turn the tide and say, what, you put your eyes on a potential enemy and put them in camps? Well, yeah. Now, the interesting thing is we were also at war with Germany and Italy, yet we didn't round up all the Italian Americans or the German Americans, which are a great many of them, and put them in concentration camps, did we? Only the Japanese. So, you know, I mean, it's like whenever somebody's pointing a finger one way, it's always three more pointing right back at you. So you have to look at it from a certain standpoint, absolutely what was going on. He also, by decentralized and not having the centralized bank, okay, that and abolishing the practice of usury, that also pissed off a certain segment of the Jewish population, primarily the bankers, very powerful people. So yeah, okay, we're going to hit you economically too. Okay. So yeah, it was, you got to look at what was really going on. He noticed that it was those same bankers are the ones that pulled the rug out from under him in World War I, which ended up in the Treaty of Versailles, which was such an outlandishly one-sided treaty. It's not even funny. The reparations that were demanded of Germany were outstanding. This, of course, led to the hyperinflation of the Weimar Republic. It was terrible.
Let's not forget what Stalin did.
What's that?
Let's not forget what Stalin did 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Now, Stalin, there's another whole different story right there.
Yeah. That was a genocide.
Somebody who was evil, and we allied ourselves with him.
Look at what Netanyahu's doing right now.
Yes, exactly. And there he is sucking up with Trump right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so they everybody supported
who's ever
the mustache man, the mustache guy.
Oh.
Right. Even America at the time.
He was Times Man of the Year in 1933, I want to say, or was it 1936? But he was Time Man of the Year. Shit, yeah.
All of our companies were working for them, right? And then now since they like, oh, they apologize and they're like, oh, it was just a time or whatever, you know, they were just doing because, and at that time, they was the popping thing. And I'm like, you know, okay, so when he was locked up, he was like writing letters to like different influencers over here in America with the eugenics thing, right? So it's like he was influenced by them. So then I'm kind of like, okay, I know then they started like promoting them and like helping them out and stuff, you know, financially, right? So at what point in time did they actually turn on them and like a war started?
Okay, so it was the needling him into war that was taking place is primarily up near the Danzig region of what's now Poland. And the ethnic Germans that lived there were being slaughtered by Poles, Jays. Hitler was like, you're going to have to put an end to this. You know, you got to stop this. He appealed to the Polish government. And the Polish government said, okay, yeah, we'll see what we can do about it. And they sent troops there that actually aided the people in trying to genocide the ethnic Germans in the area. There was a series of little false flag operations that took place. And next thing you know, Hitler went ahead and invaded Poland. He warned them. And he appealed to the international community, and the international community ignored him. He's like, you're going to have to do something about this. Nobody did shit. They wouldn't do shit. So he took the matters into his own hands. When he went into like Austria and Czech, it's what became Czechoslovakia and all that, those people were like, hey, we like what you've done in your country. Fuck yeah. Do it here. We like, you know, he was basically doing the same shit that Donald Trump is doing right now. And you see how many people support him for the shit that he's doing.
And look at the narrative behind the Ukraine and Russian war. How it's like Russia's invading Ukraine. It's like, no, they're just taking back what Ukraine took from them in 2014, Crimea and everything. But the narrative doesn't lead you to believe that. You know, Putin's the bad guy. Putin's the mustache man.
Yeah. And he's not. And it's like in true Luciferian form, damn near everything you're fed is the opposite of what it really is. You know, I don't care. It's on like every level. oh, you're on a little tiny minuscule ball of water flying around in space around a huge ass sun. No, you're not. It's the opposite of that. There is no space. The earth is huge. The sun is small. The earth is not a ball. Everything is the opposite of what they tell you. It's just amazing. Healthcare destroys health. You got an education system that destroys knowledge. It makes people stupid, is what it does. Yeah, everything's backwards from it. And yes, we have the best just criminal, just us system in the world, because it is truly criminal and it is just for us. It's fucked up, you know, and everything is like the backwards of what you think that it is. You know, just like in that Rolling Stone song, every cop's a criminal and all the sinners are saints. You know, some of the more down to earth people that I know are what would be considered extreme sinners by the righteous Christian Sunday afternoon crowd. And they're anything but sinners. They're just down to earth people that don't put up with nonsense and bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
They call it out when they see it. And that to me is a true warrior spirit.
That's why I've said you can be spiritual and not have to join a cult. It's like,
exactly.
You can believe in God. It doesn't mean you got to go, you know, to some 501c3 church to do it. Like,
right.
I think it's like, it's different, like of schools of thoughts or whatever, right? If you perceive it in that way, right?
Yeah.
So part of it is getting the knowledge, right? So it's like not necessarily, okay, maybe you come up a Christian, whatever sect, right? Baptist or whatever, Presbyterian, whatever, Catholic. But then you're like, whoa, I don't want to be a part of that, right? I think it's beneficial to have started somewhere in one of the sets, whether it may be Christianity or whatever. Like I grew up Baptist, but now that I know the Bible, right? And then so I think it helps, like knowing the shit. Like if you're not a Christian, maybe knowing the Bible, right? So when everybody does like references or whatever, or you can understand how things refer back to the book or whatever.
I mean, yeah, I was raised a Catholic, but I mean, if you look at the history of Catholicism now, it's pretty dark.
I'm not a Christian though. I wouldn't say I'm a Bible believer.
Right.
I would say it's like a tool. It has stuff in it, and it's like, okay, but then at the same time, these people could be playing the script, right? These are like the same people who gave us the book. And then we're like, oh man, look, everything is coming true. But how do we know that they didn't just give us a script and then like they play it out? And then, you know, I mean, because this all being played out.
You mean like the Bible is a script, is what you're saying?
Yeah, right. Like when they came, like you know, the Nicaea Council, they had like 2 different meetings. But they came together and rewrote the Bible, brought in Jesus, his name and everything. Because, you know, the J wasn't even a letter in the alphabet. It was Yeshua, right? But then they brought in the J, the Jesus, right? From like, I think it's like Greek or something. But they did a lot of changing, took books out and rewrote stuff and all of that. But it's like, even still, so it has so much information in it. It really does still have a lot of power in it if you understand, if you're looking at it in different lens. But not as like a worshipful book. I would see it more as a tool.
As you can get something different out of it each time. Is what's interesting. What did it say? It says the Bible was the plan. Yeah. Hey, I got tapioca. What the fuck is a tapioca, anyways?
What the hell, Biden?
No idea.
No, tapioca is good though. I like it.
I like it too, but I was just wondering what is a tapioca?
Those little bubbles in there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a fruit or something?
I don't know.
Little beads. Tapioca
look
bead.
into it a little bit more. Here's how they get in to infiltrate you, though. Check this out. This is pretty good. I like this guy. What's his name again? Hold on. Let me look real quick. It's Rathbone. Rathbone. He's on Twitter. This is pretty funny, though. He does pretty good skits.
All right, here you go. You don't say a fucking word about Israel. Yeah, you love Israel. Yeah, we love Israel. Whatever Israel wants, Israel gets. Understand? Loud and clear. Good. Oh, hey. You're gonna need this. Okay. Dare I say, Israel is the best $3 billion investment the United States has ever made. Indeed, if the United States did not have an Israel in the Middle East, then the United States would have to invent an Israel. We don't need to be ashamed about this. Excellent. Look, fellas, I think, you heard the defense minister say it. I've said it before. I really think we need to find a path to peace. Very, very critical that we engage in a peace process. A peace process. That's right. Any more questions?
Kind of reminds me of that Zach Galifianakis guy. That comedian. Zach Galifianakis.
Me too. Yeah, man. Yeah, me too. I think that same thing. Let's see. I was just looking at it, see if I had anything else out here tonight. Oh, this one, yeah. But yeah, this is that same guy.
Never again to us. Remember the Holocaust. Remember the Holocaust in order to plan the Slowlocaust. No more camps. One more camp, but like really, really, really big. Peace and non-violence. Peace through violence. Human rights for all. My human rights plus theirs. I get double human rights. No more acts of aggression. No more ethnic cleansing. Now we get to be the Gestapo. This should never happen again. My turn. No longer will the idea of racial superiority or the policies of ethnic cleansing and genocide hide behind a religious symbol. Totally. Not C's have no right to exist. We could never ever do what they did because we are their victims. Killing children is always wrong. Classified by us as terror. Unless those children are classified by us as terror toddlers.
Terror toddlers. That's about the reality. I mean, when I appreciate that somebody can just take something and break it down like that. And that's basically, that is what it is. Behind all the fancy words and everything else that they try to hide behind, that's basically what they have going the fuck on right there.
That's what they all do with them buzzwords.
It works though, because honestly, the people, it's like you go and try to talk to people, and people are just so easily influenced, and it's like, okay, you can see how these people are like, programming and manipulating us socially. With the media, it's like, how can you have things illegal being put in front of the people every day, like the guns and the shooting people and the selling drugs, which you let it go on the radio, right? You let the movies and everything produce it. Driving fast cars and scooping up the cars and everything, and the people are gonna do what they see. But it's crazy.
Well, that's the thing is they say that art imitates life, but it's actually life will imitate art. It's just like even when you see whether it be a mannequin or a model in a catalog or in a store wearing a certain combination of clothes, you're going to be apt to go, oh, I like that, and then get that for yourself. They can push these styles out there, have a certain movie star wear a certain kind of shirt, have a few of the same different movie stars wear these products or whatever else. People will gravitate toward that. They'll try to be like what they see. It's really kind of sick, really. I just try to
be like Mike.
Like with the face tats and everything. I'm like, you remember?
Oh God.
That wasn't always a thing, right?
No, it wasn't, man. Nobody did that. Nobody would be crazy enough to get a tattoo on their face. Not in my day.
Or their eyeballs, man. That's crazier yet. I don't know how people can do that.
I mean, that's goofy shit there. I could just imagine. I could just imagine what my dad would say. I got a face tattoo on. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I mean, I was brainwashed once. I can't. We'll see if I can do it. That's where the name comes from. Because I love the Cubs so much until I realized how fake sports was too.
Right.
But that's always a reminder.
It's just another tool to occupy your mind, man.
Yeah, I don't deal with the sports anymore either. It's crazy.
Yeah.
More that fill your head up with unnecessary, useless nonsense, man. That's what they did to you for 12 years. They taught you a whole lot about nothing. And
it's like they created these areas like the Research Triangle Park out here in North Carolina, right? It's three cities, right? Mm-hmm. But then like when it comes to like the basketball season, you got Duke out here, you got UNC, right? So they're like they're competitors, right? But then it's like y'all are like neighbors and shit. It's like, but at the same time, it pulls in and brings in like this energy right to the area, especially with like the business and everything in the area. It's really pretty intelligent, especially when you go and you just see, they just took an area, laid down the foundation, and then found a way to promote it and make it bring attention to the area.
Right.
Well, colleges are one of those places that they stole old world buildings from.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's over here at Harrisonburg. We got James Madison University. There's a lot of old style buildings over on that campus as well as in the old part of town. That's an interesting area to go to, the old part of Harrisonburg. A lot of old houses with the columns, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that out in the country too much. Every so often you'll find a place around here that's got that, but you can tell the new shit from the old shit real easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's once you spot it, that's all you see anymore. You start picking it out. I've gotten annoying to people. I'm like, look, that's an old world building. I'm like, shut up, Chad.
We don't care.
Yeah.
We
see it. Whatever, dude. What's the big deal? It's just a building.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe that. And I've always been really impressed by, huge structures and shit like that ever since I was really little. The first time I went into Pontiac, I was just a little kid. And we went into Pontiac, Michigan, and they had this building there. And I remember looking up at it, and I was like, oh, my God, look at that. How did they build that? Look at how big it is. And it's an old world building, too. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get some pictures of some of that shit to bring on the show one night.
Well, that's like you were saying, like that's the mystery of it all. It's like, why so secret? Something that was built so intricate and so well, you'd think you wanted to improve upon that to have it, going forward. But yet we want to hide it from everybody and build these cookie cutter, crap buildings that we got going on now that, they throw up in 2 seconds. Well, whatever kind of apartment buildings or whatever. It has no, I don't know the word I'm looking for. It has no character to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like no distinction.
And in those buildings, I mean, you don't get that same feeling like you would walk into one of these old buildings. They have a frequency, they have a vibe to them. It's like you walk into a place now, you almost get either nothing or it's like, I don't want to be here.
Well, I'll tell you something, man. When they get into this thing more, we'll get into more of that too. But as I something I hadn't contemplated as much, and that's this thing about the missing heads and the missing hands.
Yeah.
You know, even makes you question the famous Venus de Milo, right? What was Venus really? I mean, that's one that's missing its head and missing its arms.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes
I've never really went down that rabbit hole yet, but now you mention it, it's something to add to it.
Well, and isn't Venus like one of the goddesses?
Right, yeah.
Which would stand to reason that I think that a lot of these gods and goddesses that were of yore, you know, from our stories and shit, might have actually been Nephilim offspring.
Yeah.
You know, before the flood. And that probably wasn't as long ago as what they say. It's like I look at like the area of the Grand Canyon. They say this took thousands of years, and I'm like, bullshit, it did. That looks like it happened rather quick.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when the waters receded, you know, I see the same effect on areas of land that water hits like that. And
that's another place you can't really go. Can you go anywhere in the Grand Canyon other than spots they've designated, really?
Yeah, there's areas in there that you're not allowed to go.
Oh, I've never been there, but yeah.
Yeah, there's caves and shit all over. And
that's what I'm saying. I was wondering if they had spots like that they don't allow people to go, because that's kind of, you know, like one of my lunch breaks last video in India, these caves that he was trying to find out if you're even allowed to go into them. They don't or they always got scaffoldings there, and it's like, oh, we're working on this for whatever purposes.
Right. Something to keep you away from it. Yeah. Well, it's like that. It's like that in Death Valley too. Like the Panamint Mountains are like off limits.
They even had like excuses too. Like it was the people's breath, so they didn't want a bunch of visitors there. It's the people's breath that was making all of the, you know, the foot traffic and everything was deteriorating all these caves. It's like, oh, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, right. It's fucking rocks, dumbass.
Right. They made it this far, but all of a sudden the people's breath is like destroying.
Yeah.
There was always those movies they made where they were showing you like the passageways that was in the caves and stuff that you had to go down this far and maybe go through hell to get there. But then it'd be like land and shit on the other side. You see the sun is out and beautiful plants and
like
birds and shit.
Place.
Yeah, they got some of that shit like over in Thailand. It's really crazy, you know. You get into it, you know, and then you get in. There's this huge cavern, but the top's open, letting sunlight in. There's trees and plants and shit all growing inside this cave and shit. I've seen that before too. One I saw it on National Geographic, and there was a Japanese tank down at the bottom on the, you know, so they're inside this thing, and there's trees and shit growing. There's a Japanese tank, and the hole was there because it fell through. That's what made the hole.
And with not knowing how far these things go down, who knows if there's other kind of life there? Kind of like the ocean. We can't only go so far. There's all kinds of crazy ass things down in the bottom of the ocean that we don't know about.
Right. They rather give you a planet, right? Have you looking up in the sky, and they don't never find nothing. They never find nothing but, oh yeah, man, this planet made out of this or that, right? Using spectroscopy. And it's like, man, you can't really even use that, right? But you could be telling us what y'all doing down here in these waters and stuff like that here, right? But y'all don't, how you be digging underground and what you can find and about the old world buildings and everything.
Well,
but no, we looking up and y'all ain't even telling us nothing.
There's whole cities. There's like ruins of cities underwater.
Yeah, Atlantis and all.
Right.
And I mean, you go on Google Earth and like look at the ocean. You look and it's so crazy because like where you can see the bottom of the ocean, there's like, it looks like city blocks, you know, like roads and shit. in perfect straight lines that come up and intersect, and really some crazy shit. And I'm with y'all. Everything's right here, but they don't want you looking here. And that's another thing about all this. Oh, look, they discovered a lost city. And it's usually like somewhere in the late 1800s or early 1900s. Now, first off, how in the fuck do you lose a city? I can understand maybe losing a town, but a city. And then they pull all the shit away, whatever it might be, whether it's the sand at Luxor or jungle and rainforest around it down in South America somewhere. Once you get it, it's like, here's this grand, magnificent structure, intricately carved, and it's like lost. What do you mean by lost? Like you just forgot where you put it, or it was lost to something? Was there
these are the same people who discovered America, quote unquote, Christopher Columbus. So it's like as if no one was here, right? So it's like when they run across something and then tell you like, yeah, man, we found this shit. And it's like, man, what actually happened, right? And it's like some place where they know we can't go. And it's like, yeah, that's wild.
Can you imagine that too? And we all just kind of took it for granted. And you got to think that in your mind, you'd have to dehumanize the Native Americans in order to even accept the story of here's this guy discovered America. And it's like, I could just see there's these dudes, the Indians are standing there. Here comes Columbus. He puts his flag down and says, I have discovered America. And they go, dude, hello, we're right here. What do you mean? You discovered some shit. What the fuck? We have an immigration policy, okay?
We'll be taking your spices now.
God damn. No, but we just buy that stupid ass fucking story, and whether that guy was even real or not is up for question.
Well, that's the thing. Then they'd have to spend their money useful, like this USAID crap. But they're gonna write these books and history books for you to believe and stuff. But we could be spending our money in useful ways now. We wouldn't have a way to divert all our money to all these crooks.
Well, yeah, wow. That thing just seemed to be like an open checkbook for dumb shit, man.
Yeah, it's wild.
Somebody just said, sure, here's some money for that. Hey, can we have some money to do this dumb shit? Absolutely. You want to see how toads fuck? Absolutely. Here's $5 million. Go check it out.
But at the same time, too, then it's like, we're saving all this money because we're saving it to go to Mars. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, going to Mars. You can't. Mars is not a place.
Right.
Right. So that's something else.
What's that?
My bad. That's something else that nobody really talks about too. Like, or maybe they do. I don't really hear the Christians talk about how in the Bible it says that Satan gonna try to make his home in heaven. Right. And it's like, well, y'all don't realize, Elon, even with his name, impersonating Elion, the Most High. So, okay, so he's doing this whole thing with Mars. He's talking about, we're going to be able to live on Mars. Now, we know we ain't going to be able to live on Mars, right? But his whole thing is, we're going to be able to go and make homes and shit on heaven. And it's crazy how Trump gave him all this power since he stepped into office. Like, I don't think nobody really saw that one coming, right? We saw Trump, but we didn't see him sliding, giving Elon like secretary type power.
How are you gonna get the materials and like the construction company up there to build any of this stuff? It's like,
yeah, man, that's the thing.
I guess we'll discover it when we get there. Sorry.
I mean, didn't they put a helicopter up there supposedly?
Whatever. A rover.
I think the first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna go up there and build a Home Depot, and then that way you can get all your building materials that way. I know. And how many people, now think about this. How many people do you think there are in existence right now that have the pioneering spirit beyond what those of the 19th century would have been, or of the 18th century, even for that matter? Okay, they came already here on Earth and tamed wilderness and shit and learned to coexist with it and whatnot and carved their way into a thing. Or anyway, that's what we're told. Now, how many people alive today in this age of domesticated, declawed cats
Yeah, no kidding, right? House cats.
do you think are going to give up every fucking thing they got right now to go live on a desolate fucking planet, live in a little hut, have to get suited up and go outside and weld a couple beams before you have to go back inside and get more oxygen? You know, no. Nobody.
As long as I got 5G, you got to get them unglued from their phones first. Too.
Well, I got TikTok. As long as I got TikTok, I'm good.
TikTok X.
And that's
there's nothing there, and that's the thing. Like they're like, there's nothing there. So why are we like?
Well,
it's crazy.
We don't even.
It's not even a place. This is the thing. Yeah. The imaginary place they gave to us that they want to go to is more desolate than some of the most arid deserts that you've ever seen in your life. Everything so that's dumb. And then people yearning to go there. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. See, this it's through selling a story, and these ideas, and it's all, I can't get it. And it's like that one time Brenda was on here and he said, oh, I'd go to Mars in a heartbeat. And I was like, what's the longest flight you've ever been on? And he said, like 3.5 hours. And I said, you're talking about being on a flight that lasts for months.
Light years away.
Over a year.
Be light years away.
And I said, and then once you get there, then what are you going to do? You ain't coming back.
Right.
So what are you going to do once you're there? You're going to, live inside your spaceship until the oxygen runs out? Or how's that going to work for you?
Take McToon with you while you're
you're going to go and live in it. They go in, the thing is they mock us by giving them like biodomes, right? And it's like, what the fuck? And it's like, why would you give it a biodome, right? And then it's like, okay, so first you got to build it. Like they've been taunting us with this stuff since I was a kid, right? I'm 36.
Everybody.
And I remember
I'm 60 and I did it since I was a little kid. Listen, I grew up with the moon landing and the Tang instant breakfast drink and all that bullshit, man.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, drink like the astronauts do.
They just keep doing the same thing.
Oh, over and over. They keep kicking the can down the road. That's all they do, time after time after time after time. I mean, there's people that bought tickets, commercial tickets to go to the moon for the first commercial ride, that it was so long ago that a bunch of them, they're dead now. Never got to go. Those tickets are probably in a safe deposit box or been willed down to someone by now, if they even still exist. And here they're talking about, soon it'll be commercial space travel. Listen, I was told in grade school that by the time that I was my age, I'd probably have the option to retire to a retirement community on the moon, because it would be much better on elderly people with less gravity and shit. And then air travel back and forth to the moon would be as common as air travel back and forth from Michigan to Florida and shit like that. And I was like, oh wow, and we believed it. We believed it. Hell, we just saw the astronauts. They had a ticker tape parade. The president talked to him and gave him a medal and all this other shit. Why would you do that if they didn't really do it, right? You never even thought they didn't do it. You didn't even think that.
You can't even get the fake astronauts back from up in the ISS right now.
It's crazy.
Oh my God.
That's still an issue. And then you want to go and get on a rocket that they can't even get off the ground half the time, that blows up right from the ground. Like,
can you imagine being stuck up there in that thing, right? And you're stranded up there, and that witchy poo looking thing is the only fucking chick that's up there.
Oh man.
Man, if these guys can't get to the moon, how in the hell are they gonna build a civilization on Mars? That's the thing.
Pretty simple question, isn't it? You would think.
They act like it's a real task to get to the moon, but going to Mars is no problem. It's like, I thought, now this is just my own logical thinking. God forgive me for that, right? But wouldn't it make sense to establish some kind of a base on the moon?
Right.
And use that as a platform to go to these other places.
Right.
Right? Because you've got less required for liftoff. You could build your rockets there. You could launch them right from there. Everything could be done from there, and all you would have to do is shuttle people from Earth to there.
Supplies, yeah.
You know, I always thought that would be probably one of the best ways, or even if you didn't do that with the moon, I thought at first when they first put up the ISS, and I thought it was real, I thought, cool, now what they need to do is build a platform. Size shouldn't be any problem because of the environment they're in. So build some kind of a platform to be able to have a launch system to be able to go from place to place, go to the moon from there. Then all you got to do is shuttle people up to the ISS. And then since you don't have any weight problems, you can just blast off seamlessly from that and go to Mars or go to the moon, right? But nobody came up with this idea. I came up with that when I was a little kid. You know, and it's still, I've not heard anybody say, hey, that's what we ought to do. You know, I'm like, well, duh.
Well, that makes sense.
I mean, I thought that, see, that's the thing, though. Here's the kicker. They gave us the movies, right? And in the movies, they were showing us ways that it could be done, right? When it worked, right? And it was like, since it feel like ever. But then when the government comes now, they're like, oh, NASA and them. And it's like, well, we don't know how to get there. We don't know what to do. The belt, this and that and the other. But in these movies, you know, it showed them, you know, they could just go through these areas with like the little systems. It even show a lot of times where it be really, really bad. Where they're using like rocket propulsion. And it's like, okay, we know you're not supposed to be using rocket propulsion in outer space. But nobody really talks about that, right? How do you launch these? How are you going to launch a rocket from the moon or from Earth?
In a vacuum.
With rocket propulsion.
In a vacuum.
In a vacuum.
Well, think about this, how the whole propaganda stream works, okay? 1968, a movie by Stanley Kubrick came out. Okay. And what was the full name of that movie?
The 2001 Space Odyssey.
2001, specifying a date. Right? 2001. Now this is in 1968. So by 2001, what they were depicting in this movie was, you remember the ship that he was on going to the space station before he went on to the moon? It was run by Pan Am.
Oh.
It was run by Pan Am. And he got up to the Hilton. It was a Hilton hotel on the space station. And he made a video phone call from Bell Telephone, a video telephone, home and talked to his wife and stuff. But my point being, you see what they did right there in the very first part of that movie was they showed that this was regular, so much so that the flight was run by Pan Am. There was an in-orbit space station that these people could embark on before they go to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Even the communications was privatized. Everything was privatized. Nothing said NASA on it. Nothing said NASA on it. It wasn't a NASA phone. Video phone. It wasn't a NASA spaceship. It was, like I said, Pan Am. Up there on the space station was a Hilton, and of course they had other amenities and everything on board this thing. And so that was the thing that they were pushing before we even actually supposedly landed on the moon. This is in 1968. We didn't supposedly land on the moon until June of the next year.
And that's crazy because you're saying like 68, And then that's back. I know they made another movie. It was another movie that wasn't it like Star Trek or something they made back then?
Yeah, Star Trek was out in, I want to say like 1967.
So they got like this FaceTime technology and stuff. So like they're mixing it with this like outer space thing. So when we see the tech, we'll link it to like outer space, right? And that's kind of like a little wild, I'm thinking too.
66.
Right? 66, right.
1966, and you know who put it out? Desilu Productions. That's Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball.
No.
But yeah, Star Trek was 1966. You see, through the
Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah, through the late 40s and through the 50s and up in the 60s, there was this push of sci-fi. Sci-fi movies, aliens from another world coming. You look at the majority of your sci-fi movies regarding space travel and shit like that, all come out like toward the late 40s on up through the 50s. There was really a push, and then actually through the 60s of aliens and things from other planets coming to the Earth and us going to other planets and things. A lot of B movies. Terrible movies, but they're fun to watch. We got to do those maybe once a week. A bunch of them are public domain, and some of them are just so fucking tacky, funny that we could do like Mystery Science Theater. You know, did you ever see that Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah. I watched some of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like that watching any movie. I'm liable to say anything in the middle of the movie.
Do you know where the term "I love you to the moon and back" came from? I don't know. I know where that's because I always say you must not love me very much then. It ain't possible.
Well, how far is that? Just lead them into conversation. How far is that exactly? Dude? Oh, 200. Oh, speaking of which, with Kubrick, right? Always putting the hints in the middle of the movies and shit. You've seen The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about all the parallels with the moon landing that are in that?
Yeah.
Okay. Even up to and including the room 237.
Yeah.
Right. So check this out.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's from the Overlook Hotel.
I've never been to that place, but I'd like to.
And yeah, I have a key on there. But room 237, and it says, "Come play with us." Since 1907.
I haven't looked at that in a while. Well, probably not. I was wondering if that was an old world building, but
it is. I was just thinking about that. I think it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's some wild shit out, like in Wyoming and Montana, even in some of those areas, Colorado.
It's everywhere. It's all around you. You just got to look.
Yep, you do. Oh, this was kind of funny. Let me bring this up. The Tiny Hat spokesman.
Attention, I hereby declare that anyone who wears a tiny hat will receive special privilege in our society. We are the Tiny Hat Club, and the people of Tiny Hat Club live. Any questions? Yes, what about the people that don't wear hats? They are all criminals. They will be subordinate to the tiny hatted people, and they will be persecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Okay, well, what if you do wear a hat, but the hat isn't tiny?
Big hats not allowed.
So top hats, cowboy hats, baseball caps, fedoras, illegal. Why? Because wearing other hats besides a tiny hat is literally the definition of tiny hatophobia. And that is not to be tolerated by the tiny hat people in tiny hat country. Next question. Oh, what about a beret? I mean, technically those are pretty small. Oh, that's actually a good point. No, the hat must be round. It must be two-dimensional. It must fit on the crown of your head like so, and it must be tiny. But could that really be classified as a hat? I mean, technically, it sort of seems more like a pad, like a bra pad for the head. I mean, right? You know, that is another good point. Oh my God. This is exactly what we're talking about. Tiny hat denialism. I'm not sure I follow. This is hat speech, and you are being a tiny hat denialist. And this is exactly the kind of propaganda my tiny hatted people have been facing for thousands of years. Well, where's your tiny hat? I don't have one. But why not? Because I don't believe in hats to begin with. So you're anti-hattist? No, I am ethnically a tiny hattist. I just don't practice tiny hattism. But what does that mean? It means I am a tiny hat man. I just don't practice the tiny hat ideology. But theoretically, at least, tiny hats are my vocation. But tiny hattism is literally about wearing tiny hats, and you are the tiny hat spokesperson, and you don't wear a tiny hat. Enough! I am a proponent of the concept of a tiny hat country with tiny hat people given tiny hat priority. It doesn't mean I have to wear a tiny hat. Well, I think it should. Well, I think you sound a lot like Mr. Mustache Face and his little bootmen, and need I remind everyone here that they were guilty of a hat-aside. But that's because the bootmen believed in stash supremacy over the tiny hats. Exactly. But wouldn't that be what the tiny hats are now doing to the non-tiny hats? No. You know, the more I listen to you, the more I feel like you're describing an apart hat society where people are segregated according to the size of their hats. That's ridiculous. Well, what's going to happen to the people with no tiny hats? They'll be concentrated into camps enclosed by walls. So concentration camps, theoretically. So they're second-rate citizens denied their civil liberties. I don't speak legalese, so they're prisoners. No, work will make them free. Question, where is this new tiny hat country going to be? Great question. We've considered a number of places, but ultimately we, the people of THC, have chosen our ancestral home, which is Headscarf Land. But wait, Headscarf people live there right now. Not anymore. We are liberating the land. No longer will tiny hats be prisoners in Headscarf Land. But the people of Headscarf Land don't imprison the tiny hat people to begin with. Yes, but they would if we let them. And we can't let that happen. Wow, is that true? Probably. But why not take Little Bootland? I mean, after all, it was the Little Bootmen that actually did the Holocaust. 9! The Headscarf people had nothing to do with it. Headscarf Land is our ancestral home. It said so in the Book of Genetics. So then what are you going to do? We're clearing out all the scarves to make way for the tiny hats. It's what Tiny Hat God would have wanted.
What a great way to tiptoe around that.
Make good soap.
That was good. That was
Attention.
Good. I like that guy. He's funny. That Rathbone guy is funny as hell. Well, I think I am going to call it a night. We've gone here almost 4 hours. I was going to cut off an hour ago, and I didn't.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't go later than you did, because I probably wouldn't have made it then. But.
Oh, no shit, man. I'm like, I looked at that, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Because I looked up at there's like a little dashboard on StreamYard up here, and it tells me, and I was like, what? Yeah. So I went back and, or no, it was on YouTube, and I was like, what does it mean, 1056, 1035, what? And I went back onto this thing, and I went into edit, and I was like, oh, shit, man, I must have clicked the wrong place. I'm glad I caught that. Yeah. It would have went live anyway, but who knows?
F it, we'll do it live.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank y'all for coming on up here and everything. Thanks everybody for showing up and for the show. I love to get on here and just talk about all kinds of shit within a certain parameter of topics. But hey, you run into something that's interesting, bring it up. 6 motherfucking 30 a.m. here. Holy crap, man, that's early. Oh, man, he's way overseas. Way over there. He's way over there. God bless. All right, guys. Bums here. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time on the Sovereign Soul. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and don't forget, the Lord loves a working man. Don't trust Whitey. And see your doctor and get rid of him, because he'll probably kill you. And if you heard the shot, it wasn't meant for you, babe. We'll see you next time. Thanks for coming.
Hey, how are you glow-tards doing? Just wanted to check in from how you were doing when you all learned about me, when you were just little wee little ones, and you were too stupid to question anything, and you know, just wanted to check in to make sure you still believed in me. You still believe in me, right? You better still believe in me. Because if you don't, I'm gonna call you names. Like, you still live in your mama's basement, and you better not breed. That's okay. I know you still believe in me.